Please can we be upstanding for the Worshipful Mayor of the Borough of Hertsmere?
Good evening, everybody, and can I welcome everyone to this meeting of Hertsmere Borough Council, including those in the public gallery and watching online. My name is Councillor Alpha Bird Collins. I'm the Mayor of Hertsmere, and I will be chairing this meeting. Before we continue, please can I ask everyone to make sure that your mobile phone is turned off or switch to silence. Thank you. Due to the pre-election period, as we have done in the past, we are webcasting live, but the recording will be taken down until after the election. There are certain procedures we would like to go through. We have fire evacuation procedure. On hearing the alarm, please leave the building immediately using the nearest available exit. There are exits at the rear there and also on the side of the chamber. Do not, under any kind of circumstances, use the lift. The assembly point is in the civic office car park in the area next to the roundabout. You should not re-enter the building until it is known to be safe to do so. We'll move on. The first item of business for council this evening is agenda item number 1. Do we have any apologies? Yes, Councillor Shenton.
Councillor Shah sends his apologies.
Yes, Councillor Sullivan.
Mr. Mayor, Councillor Clarkson sends his apologies.
I think that's it then.
So another one.
Oh,
Apologies,
yeah,
Mr. Mayor, I forgot. Councillor Nicholas, sorry, sends her apologies too.
You know, members, that robust but civil debate is the essence of democracy. The respectful conduct in the chamber is of key importance to the good reputation of our council. I will be keen to ensure that debate is civil and timely throughout the evening and will ask your support in this respect. There are 2 points in our procedures, rules to avoid any misunderstandings by members. A, if you rise on a point of order to speak, I will immediately ask you to identify which procedure, rule, or law has been broken in your opinion. If you cannot answer this question to my satisfaction, I will ask you to sit down, as it is not a point of order. B, if you wish to make a point of personal explanation, this only applies if you have already spoken in a current debate and feel that a member has misunderstood something that you said in that debate. If you rise on this point, you must have spoken in the debate. I will ask you to state specifically which part of your speech has been misunderstood. And if you cannot answer this, I will ask you definitely to sit down. As before, will be using the electronic voting system. Councillors, can you also please remember to switch off your microphone when you have finished speaking? This allows the webcast camera to automatically move on to the next speaker. Now, following Cabinet, can I ask the leader to make a short announcement? Yeah, Councillor Newmar.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, for permitting me to make this short but significant announcement. As it is an extraordinary meeting of council, there is no regular tabled leaders report. However, this is a matter of such significance that I felt it was right and proper that it was reported to members in this chamber in advance of any other channels of communication, given that we are all here this evening. Members will recall that just under 6 months ago, I made it clear that this authority is sensitive to the concerns that have been expressed by many residents of Potters Bar about the proliferation of inappropriate HMO, house of multiple occupation developments around the town. Now, at the time, I said something important, and I want to re-emphasize that. So authority is not against HMOs. They form a particularly important part of the housing mix, especially for students, people on low incomes, and those who are unable to access, for financial reasons, other forms of safe and secure housing. However, what we have seen in Potters Bar is something beyond the norm, beyond what is reasonable, and a proliferation of HMOs that do not meet safe and suitable standards. Now, there's been a lot of debate and a lot of discourse over this matter over the course of the past 6 months. And I also want to take this opportunity to disassociate this authority from some of the more extreme immigrant bashing, racist discourse that has emerged in discussion of HMOs in Hertsmere. Nevertheless, I do acknowledge that within Potters Bar, it is an issue that requires action, responsible action, firm action, and robust and defendable measured action. That is why this authority engaged expert planners, took leading legal advice, did the work to gather the evidence, liaised with our scrutiny task and finish group, and ensured that we would reach the position that we are now in today, when I can announce I've instructed the council's officers before the end of this week to seal an Article 4 direction in order to stem the proliferation of inappropriate HMO development in Potters Bar. This is delivery. This is an important milestone. I acknowledge that for some people, it hasn't come quick enough. Local government doesn't always move as quickly as one would want, but there are risks associated with this process, particularly the risks of an immediate Article 4 direction, both being overturned by central government and creating an imperative upon the taxpayer to pay out potentially millions of pounds of compensation to potential HMO developers who claim their projects, or will claim their projects, have been stymied by this Article 4. So what we have done is acted. We have brought forward the best possible set of measures as advised by our officers. We have done what people have asked. That Article 4 will be sealed by the end of the week. It will cover the entire geography of Potters Bar, all 4 wards, and the 12-month process will commence before it will officially take effect. We believe this is the way to achieve a safe and secure Article 4 direction that cannot be challenged by developers and will not be overturned by the Secretary of State. Mr. Mayor, thank you for allowing me to make this important announcement this evening.
You're welcome, Councillor Newmark. Okay, we're going to move over to agenda item number 2. That is declaration of interest. Does anyone have any to declare? Oh yeah, Councillor Shenton, please.
Mr. Mayor, I have pecuniary interest in HDL, so I won't be voting on the HDL item, but I have got a dispensation from the Chief Executive to speak and attend.
Please have that noted. Yeah, Councillor Kaza.
Yeah, I'm a director of SDL, but I have permission to speak.
Excuse me. You will stand
Oh, sorry.
when you talking to me.
Not too well, so it's okay. I'm a director of SDL, and I have the permission to speak, so I'll be here during the SDL discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, please, Councillor Hutchinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I too have a pecuniary interest in the item on HDL. As a director of HDL and chairman of HDL, I have sought and received dispensation to speak and remain in the room for the debate on that item, but clearly will not be voting. Thank you.
Yes, Councillor Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to declare a other pecuniary interest as a council-appointed director of Elstree Immersive Experience, as it is mentioned under item 6 on tonight's agenda. Thank you.
Yeah, Councillor Bright, please.
Yes, I'd like to declare the same interest as Councillor Sullivan and other pecuniary interest as a council-appointed director of the Elstree Immersive Experience.
Yeah, Councillor Newmark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure it's strictly necessary, but I'll also declare an interest as the chair of Elstree Immersive Experience Limited.
Yeah, Councillor Butler, please.
Thank you. Apologies, Mr. Mayor. I am also a director of Elstree Immersive Experience, so I declare that interest too.
Are there any others? Yeah, thanks. Okay, thanks ever so much. Okay, then at least we're moving very fast. Okay, we're going to move over to agenda item number 3. That's announcement by the mayor. Okay, this past month, I've attended several community events, such as the tree planting ceremony at Sky Studio. It was great to meet families of Homestart, Watford Three Rivers, and Hertsmere, which is a fantastic organization who have been helping families in our local community for over 30 years. I also recently attended the huge Ramavambami at Bhaktivedanta Manor, which was a vibrant community celebration. We're only a few days away from the civic dinner and awards. Please note, booking has now closed for this event. Please ensure you have also paid for your tickets. If you have not already done so via the payment link, I look forward to seeing all those of you who have booked at DoubleTree Hilton this Sunday, where we can join together to celebrate our wonderful civic awards winners who have had a real impact on our local Hertsmere community. That's the end of my announcement. We're going to move over to agenda item number 4. That is the decision report relating to sale expenditure of April 2026. I call on Councillor Oakley to move the recommendations as set out in the report. Councillor Oakley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Tonight, we're considering a series of significant community infrastructure levy proposals, each of which seeks to respond to real and growing needs across our borough and have been approved by our SIL panel and cabinet. Firstly, the proposal for Hertsmere Main Cap at 49C Theobald Street. This represents an investment in some of the most vulnerable members of our community. supporting over 700 people with learning difficulties and with demand rising sharply. MenCap is currently operating across multiple venues. This project would provide a permanent, fully accessible hub, enabling expanded services, improved efficiency, and greater community inclusion. It aligns closely with our stated policies around social infrastructure and inclusive communities, and has been recommended unanimously by the panel. Secondly, the Hertsmere Learning Partnership presents an innovative approach to education and community engagement. Through mobile, hybrid electric learning hubs, this project aims to bring educational opportunities directly to schools and neighbourhoods. The scale of existing collaboration, reaching thousands of students weekly, demonstrates both demand and impact. While the proposal involves a substantial investment, it also offers flexibility, sustainability, and the potential to broaden access to enrichment and skills across the borough. Turning to Aberford Park, this proposal addresses the need to reinvest in one of our key green spaces, particularly in an area experiencing high levels of deprivation and population growth. The plans respond directly to public consultation with a strong emphasis on improved play facilities, environmental sustainability, and biodiversity. This is about maintaining and enhancing a vital community asset, ensuring it continues to serve residents for years to come. Finally, the Bournemouth Football Club proposal focuses on expanding stadium capacity and upgrading facilities. Beyond supporting the club's ambitions, the project aims to deliver wider community and economic benefits through increased local spending, enhanced partnerships, and improved leisure infrastructure. Independent assessment suggests these benefits could justify the level of investment, while legal advice indicates funding would comply with subsidy control requirements subject to appropriate process. Across all four proposals, there are some common themes: growing demand, the need for modern and accessible infrastructure, and alignment with the Council's strategic priorities. At the same time, each project represents a significant financial commitment, and it is right we consider carefully issues such as long-term value, deliverability, and overall impact.
Thanks. I shall now call on Councillor Newmark to second.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm proud to rise to second this fantastic set of recommendations, and I will reserve my right to speak.
Okay, this matter is now open for debate. I'll call on Councillor Cohen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to speak on two of these bids. Hertsmere MenCap, that does life-changing work for people with learning disabilities and their families. Under Paul Moses' leadership, their impact is profound, and improving their facilities, we all know, will directly strengthen that support, and they fully deserve our backing. I want to now focus on Borough Woods Football Club. This club, as most of us do know, brings together families, volunteers, school children and supporters week after week, under the outstanding leadership of the chairman, Danny Hunter, who I and my colleagues have worked together with for years. It has become far more than a football club. It is a cornerstone of our community. The pride it brings to our town is immeasurable. And what makes this bid so compelling is that those benefits have been clearly captured, from employment opportunities and wide-ranging community programmes to support for local groups and a real boost to our high street on match days. The bid will provide a new stand with increased capacity for away fans. This is also a club with a national and international profile, proudly hosting Arsenal Women, one of Europe's top sides, bringing further prestige and visitors to our borough. As women's football continues to rise, these matches are attracting larger crowds, bringing thousands of supporters into our borough. This new stand will allow that growth to continue. And with that growth comes real benefits for Borough Woods. More away supporters travelling to matches, more people using our cafes, restaurants and shops. Real economic activity flowing directly into Hertsmere. And we have seen that impact nationally. Just a few weeks ago, making history as the first non-league club to win the National League Cup. Moments that put Borough Woods firmly on the map and unite our diverse community. But perhaps most importantly, this is about opportunity, especially in Cowley Hill. Through its academy and community work, the club provides pathways, role models, and real aspiration for young people. Mr. Mayor, this club represents pride, opportunity, and community in action, and we are proud to support all the bids tabled tonight.
Yeah. Councillor Clapper, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. This is a significant amount of money being asked for this evening, and it is right that we recognise and scrutinise that. But I want to be equally clear, we strongly support the proposals and especially the investment in Borough Wood Football Club. Because this is not just about a stand. This is about a club with real heart and soul at the very centre of our community. We have had a proper social value assessment on this. The benefits are real and are already being delivered. Starting with spend in the town. Match days bring people into Borough Wood. They support local shops, pubs, taxis, hotels. That is the direct economic impact supporting local businesses. Then there is what football does best. It brings people together. It creates identity, pride, and belonging across the whole community. And that matters for mental health. In a time where loneliness and isolation are real issues, places like this give people connection, routine, and something to be part of. And that has genuine value. The relationship with Arsenal women is a huge asset. It puts Borough Wood on the national stage and drives opportunities for women and girls in sport, which is something we should all be proud to support. The club also makes real community contributions, work with young people, outreach, giving opportunities that genuinely change people's lives. And most importantly, we have to look to the future. If our club is to progress, if it's to reach the Football League, it must meet the league requirements. And without this investment, that simply will not happen. So this is the choice. Do we back something that is already delivering for our town, growing and building a legacy, or do we hold it back? Yes, it is a high spend, but it is also a high impact investment in Borough Wood, in its economy, in its identity, and its future. So for these reasons, we fully support the recommendations. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Allen, please.
Thank you. The first two schemes, Maincap and Aberford Park, are great, and well done to everyone involved. I have to be a bit of a party pooper for the other two. The HAB scheme is very well intentioned, but I have concerns about this scale of funding, £1.6 million from a standing start for an enterprise that has never been trialled or run anywhere, with 4 brand new electric buses and no carbon audit whether they would actually be beneficial compared to older diesel buses at those mileages. It's a great scheme and intention. I do have concerns about its use of public money at this scale. But my graver concerns about Borough Wood FC, the chief beneficiary here is Arsenal Football Club, which is owned by Stan Kroenke, who is the largest landowner in the United States. He has a net worth of $27 billion. And as for who should play for his club to play, I don't think it should be us.
Yeah. Councillor Bright, please.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Well, I was pleased to join the panel a couple of weeks ago and observing and contributing to the discussions that led to the recommendations before us tonight. For those of you who think that we just make decisions about millions of pounds in a very quick debate, there have been discussions before here. In relation to the HABS application, SIL application 2, the WD6 Education Partnership, it's a very proud moment, I think, because it is an opportunity to tangibly help the lives of young people here in Bournemouth, but across the borough, has the potential to be a real legacy for the council in creating lasting change, and it could even be used as a blueprint nationally. So I'd like to thank officers and Councillor Sashtovs, both current and former, for their efforts. Regarding application 3, my colleague Councillor Brisky has asked me to place on record his support for the funding for Aberford Park and the Brook, an issue he campaigned so strongly on during last July's Bournemouth by-election, which he won. At a time when the Brook is urgent need of cleaning and facilities requiring replacement, this investment is essential. Aberford Park provides vital open space for 2 of our borough's most deprived wards, both now and for future generations. Along with colleagues, I attended a meeting here last night where Bournemouth Football Club Chairman Danny Hunter presented an application requesting funding for the new South Stand at Meadow Park Stadium, just yards from these offices. For members rightly questioning the added value of such an investment, I thank officers for circulating the Council Commissioned Value Report. This comprehensive document concludes that Bournemouth Football Club delivers significant and often undervalued community benefits exceeding what is captured in its own reporting. It also confirms that the projected economic impact of the South Stand development is accurately assessed. In short, both the financial and the social value cases are strong. Danny Hunter noted that this could be his final major project for the club. It may also be one of Hertsmere's last significant opportunities of this kind. Let us come together for the South Stand and take a stand to complete another piece of our borough's legacy, something enduring for our communities, even if this borough no longer will be. And I ask everyone to support it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I think Councillor Newmark, you reserve your right to speak.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm proud to second this significant set of proposals on SIL expenditure, using money from development in the community to benefit the community. I'm highly supportive of all four of the proposed recipients this evening. I can't think of a better use for revitalised and refurbed 39 Theobald Street building than that of a new permanent headquarters for MENCAP. I don't think I need to tell anybody in this room of the wonderful work they do for our community, led by Paul Moser for many, many years, right back to the days of the Donkey Derby, that I'm sure many people will remember as an integral part of the Civic Festival. I'm also delighted that that refurbished building will become home to Kehila Nashira, the partnership synagogue service. In fact, I believe the only Orthodox Jewish community in the UK to be led by a woman rabbi, and I think that is testimony to the way that this area continues to trailblaze. The Hearts Learning Programme, I spent a morning with the kids on that programme from schools in our deprived ward at Haberdashers, and seeing the smiles on their faces as that programme provides them access to opportunities that they would otherwise not have. Aberford Park, investing in our parks, a clear priority for this administration on which we're delivering. And last but by no means least, everything that could be said about the Boreham Wood FC application has been said. They are bringing in excess of £3 million in community and social benefit for our community. Danny Hunter's community leadership, his philanthropic leadership, the role that that club plays in bringing together our diverse communities week after week on those terraces cannot be undervalued. I support this motion.
Please sit down. Yes, yeah. I'll call on Councillor Oakley now to please sum up. Councillor Oakley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I probably don't need to add much more to that. Thank you, everybody, for your contributions on each of the four schemes. I hope you'll weigh up all of these proposals and not only on their individual merits, but how they collectively support the borough's future. Strengthening communities, supporting young people, enhancing well-being, and promoting sustainable development. I would move the 4 recommendations on the order paper.
Okay, members, are we ready to go for a vote? Yeah,
are we going to take the votes together or as separate items?
I think that we'll take them separately or together.
Because there was no motion to do it.
Okay. Okay, we're going to take all into one. Yeah. Yes, Councillor.
I'm going to move a motion that we take them separately, please.
I second that.
Okay. Okay. We're all going. Okay, you made a motion, isn't that so? Who made a motion?
He did.
I moved the motion to take them separately because they're quite separate things. They're entirely different. The fact that they're all coming out of SIL is just ties them together, but they're totally separate bids.
Okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to ask someone who's going to second this. Yeah, Councillor Allen. Yeah, okay, you seconded it. Yeah. Okay, okay, good. Is it agreed? Yeah. Please make mention of the first vote, please.
Been carried.
Yeah, excuse me, everybody. Yeah, please. The recommendation has been carried.
Sorry, Mr. Mayor,
Okay.
point of order. Some people are having problems with their buttons not working.
Did you voted for it? What? It didn't carry. Okay. Okay, look. Okay, Councillor Smith, you are for. Okay, please have that noted. Who else didn't vote?
Yes, I'm voting for as well.
Okay, yeah, please, Councillor Graham.
Councillor Richard Butler.
Councillor Butler. Oh, he's not in, so he doesn't count.
Okay, who else is there? No, that's it.
Yeah, let's go for the next one, please. Okay, the next one is Hertsmere Learning Partnership. I think it's on the screen there. Okay, it has been carried. Then we're going over to funding for the Hertsmere. No.
No,
Aberford Park improvements. Okay, this has been carried. It's unanimous. Okay, and finally, we're going over to Board football grounds development. Okay, the recommendation has been carried also. We're going to look at agenda item number 5. That is requisition of the requisition report, and that's consultation regulation of 18 local plan process. I've spoken with group leaders, and I have agreed that the debate will be similar to that of the budget. We'll be giving 15 minutes to the cabinet member for planning, infrastructure, and transport to open the item. Each of the larger parties will have 10 minutes for their spokesman. There will also be 5 minutes for the smaller group leaders. All other members who wish to speak will be given 2 minutes each. Councillor Oakley will then have 5 minutes to sum up, and we will then take each of the votes separately. Councillor Oakley.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Members, this evening we're at a pivotal moment for Hertsmere. Not a routine decision, not simply a procedural step, but a choice that will shape how our borough grows, how our communities feel that growth, and crucially, whether we shape it at all. Because let's be clear from the outset, the question before us is not whether development will happen in Hertsmere, it will. The real question, the only question, is this: will we plan for it, or will it be done to us? National policy could not be clearer. The planning system is and remains plan-led. That is not just guidance, it's the foundation of how decisions are made across England. An up-to-date local plan gives us three things no council can afford to be without: a clear vision for our future, a framework to meet housing, economic and environmental needs, and a voice for our communities in shaping their surroundings. Without it, that voice is weakened. Sometimes it is lost entirely. And as the local planning authority, we are not simply encouraged to prepare a plan, we are legally required to do so. Members, the consequences of not having an up-to-date local plan are not theoretical. We are already seeing them. Greenbelt applications refused locally are being overturned on appeal. Decisions are slipping out of our hands. And when that happens, decisions are no longer shaped by Hertsmere's priority, but by national policy applied in isolation, often without the full context of our borough. That is not localism, that is not control, and it's not sustainable. Now overlay that reality with the changes introduced through 2024 National Planning Policy Framework. These are not minor adjustments, they're fundamental shifts. We're now facing a significant uplift in housing need. The introduction of grey belt alongside existing green belt and new transitional arrangements that place real urgency on plan making. Taken together, these changes mean one thing: we must plan for growth in full. For Hertsmere, that means planning for 16,160 new homes over the plan period until 2042. Although we have just heard our target has been reduced by 600. Factoring in both the standard method of housing need and the required buffer for the insufficient land supply we inherited. And members, we must be candid about this. Plans that do not meet their full housing need are now being found unsound at examination by inspectors. They're being rejected, withdrawn, sent back. And in those cases, the result is not less development, it's less control. So again, the choice before us is not between growth and no growth, it's between planned growth or unplanned growth, between strategy or speculation, between leadership or reaction. The Regulation 18 consultation document before you tonight is a critical step in ensuring we choose the former. It's not a final plan, it's not a fixed blueprint. It is deliberately and rightly a consultation document, an invitation to our residents, stakeholders and partners to engage, to challenge and to shape what comes next. And that is exactly what Regulation 18 is for: to test ideas, to present options, to ensure that when we move forward, we do so with evidence, with transparency and with legitimacy. I was as horrified as you were when I saw the Greenbelt Sites Officer's long list. Sites I'd taken out of my previous draft local plan. Sites I could not ever envisage should be built over. But those sites are back for consultation, and there are more. There are absolute sacred cows in this document, and I fully understand the anger and concern shown by members and residents. But I reiterate, this is a list of candid sites, and I fully expect and indeed want residents to rise up and say that some of these sites must be saved. But please, you must tell us where development is acceptable. It's simply not enough just to say no. So let me turn to what this document actually does. It sets out a positive vision for Hertsmere's future. A vision that prioritises regeneration first, the use of brownfield land, development in the most sustainable locations, and the careful evidence-led consideration of any land beyond that. It recognises the importance of protecting our green belt, something that our residents and us deeply care about. But it also recognises a hard truth. If we do not plan strategically for growth, including where necessary through the local plan process, then those decisions will instead be made site by site on appeal, where the balance is often tipped by housing need alone. That is how we risk incremental erosion of the green belt, not through plan making, but through its absence. This document also introduces a comprehensive spatial strategy. It directs growth to our most sustainable settlements: Borehamwood, Potters Bar, Bushy, and Radlett, places with existing infrastructure, services, and connectivity. It continues to explore the potential for the new settlement at Bowman's Cross to be tested, scrutinised, and debated. Right now, our officers think that the inspector may only find the provision of 500 houses a sound, but we hope that by the final consultation, that original 2,000 will be fully evidenced. This will reduce the pressure to use other greenbelt sites, along with a further 2,000 through small windfill sites. So to the sites themselves. This report presents a long list of candidate sites. Now let me be absolutely clear on this point, because it matters. These are not allocations, they are options. They are included precisely so that we can consult openly and transparently on all reasonable possibilities. To do anything less would risk failing the very tests of soundness we will later be judged against. Members, consultation is not a tick box. It's the foundation of a sound plan. And the programme proposed is robust, accessible, and wide-reaching. A dedicated website, engagement through digital platforms, staffed exhibitions across our towns and villages, hard copies in libraries and public buildings, a full communications plan. This is about bringing people into the process, not shutting them out. And we must also acknowledge this. We have consulted before. We have listened. And the themes raised by our residents remain central to this emerging plan. Protect the green belt wherever possible. Focus growth on regeneration. Safeguard the character of our towns and villages. Enhance green spaces and the natural environment. Ensure infrastructure keeps pace with development, and demand high-quality design. These are not competing priorities. They are the very principle this local plan seeks to deliver. But members, there's also an urgency. If we do not proceed now, if we delay or defer or step back, we face very real risks. We risk missing the opportunity to submit this plan under the current system before changes come in 2027. We risk entering a new, untested system that could require us to start again. We risk prolonged exposure to speculative development, and we risk, ultimately, intervention. Because where local plans are absent for too long, the system does not stand still. It steps in. We have seen elsewhere what happens when that vacuum emerges. Years without a plan, decisions made piecemeal, communities frustrated, infrastructure lagging behind. That is not a position we should accept for Hertsmere. By contrast, an adopted local plan gives us the ability to direct growth to the right places, the tools to secure infrastructure, schools, transport, healthcare, the framework to support town centre regeneration, the means to protect what matters most, while accommodating what is necessary, and the confidence to make decisions that will stand up on appeal. It restores control it restores credibility, and it provides certainty for residents, for investors, and for the future of our borough. So let us return to the decision before us tonight. This is not about endorsing every site, not about fixing every policy, not about closing down debate. It's the opposite. It is about opening that debate. It is about saying we are ready to engage. We are ready to listen. We are ready to plan. To vote in favour of this recommendation is to take responsibility, to lead, to ensure that Hertsmere's future is shaped through evidence, consultation and strategy, not left to chance. To vote against it is not to stop development. It's to step away from the process that allows us to shape it. Members, future generations will not ask whether development happened in Hertsmere. They will ask how it happened. Was it planned? Was it coordinated? Did it enhance our communities? Or did it arrive piecemeal, disconnected and imposed? Tonight we have the opportunity to choose the first path, to take control, to move forward, to engage our communities, and to build a local plan that reflects the best of Hertsmere, its character, its ambition and its future. Mr. Mayor, members, I urge you to support the recommendation to proceed to Regulation 18 consultation and to assure that Hertsmere's future is not something that happens to us, but something we shape together and save together.
Councillor Cohen, please. Oh, I think they ain't keeping my script. Yeah, I need a seconder, please. Yeah, Councillor Shenton, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to second this motion. I'll focus my comments on Bushy simply because that's the place I know best. The same principles apply across the borough though, and I'm not suggesting Bushy is a special case deserving of special treatment. And that's important. We all represent a particular area, but just as we consider our own place as being special, so does everyone else about their area. We must be fair to everyone whilst obviously acknowledging that there are different pressures in different places. I think there is deliberate muddying of the waters over what we are actually voting for here. This is about consultation. It informs the next stage, Regulation 19, which proposes sites to be included in the local plan. It is not this stage that proposes sites to be put in the plan. This is for consultation and for comment. It's very true that I campaigned against Herts Farm alongside Councillor Oakley and all of the Bushy Park and St James councillors. I am still totally opposed to developing that site. The flooding risk and all the other reasons we oppose the site still appear to be there. But the rules have changed, and the NPPF and our housing targets are completely different than they were in 2022. We have to ask the question, have the changes in the regulation, such as the creation of grey belt and the housing targets from MHCLG, changed the conclusion we came to in 2022? Having asked myself those questions, I can confidently assert that the site is still completely inappropriate, fails to satisfy the NPPF questions, and should be rejected. I can only say that, though, in the context of having asked those questions against the current rules. I think we would all be quite surprised if a shoplifter was deported to Tasmania for 20 years, because that's what the law used to be in 1826. The law moves on and we have to acknowledge that. So what are the steps in the production of a local plan? Well, firstly, we have the evidence gathering and early stage consultation, which is Regulation 18. Then the pre-submission publication stage, which is Regulation 19. The submission of documents and independent examination, Regulation 22, and the inspector's report, Regulation 24. We are only talking at this stage about the very first of those 4 stages, about information gathering. It is our opportunity to say why sites are inappropriate. This is a process. If we don't submit a Regulation 18 report now, what happens? Do we have time to delay it and come back in several weeks' time? Colleagues, I've said it's not our fault that we are up against the clock. So why are we being asked to get this so close to, so urgent in our response? It really doesn't matter who is responsible. It really doesn't matter whether the Regulation 18 should have been dropped in 2022, whether the government shouldn't have introduced new regulations in 2024. It's irrelevant. We are where we are, and it is our duty to our residents, to our community, to get this done, to get a Regulation 18 done in time, so that we can get a Regulation 19 done in time, and that we can get a local plan this year before the rules changed. There are good reasons why the Regulation 18 plan has taken as long as it has to get to us, but they're all irrelevant to the main task, which is to get the approved plan completed by the end of this year. Councillor Oakley has already told us that the rules change from January 27, so the end of this year is a hard deadline we cannot miss. Some of our neighbours, say Three Rivers for instance, submitted a Reg 19 local plan with just over 50% of their targets. The Secretary of State personally, the Minister of State personally sent it back to them and added a whole load of extra sites that they had to include. We will not get away with not having a plan. Somebody else will do it to us. If we don't do it, it will be done to us. So what are we actually being asked to do? We're not being asked to approve a plan. We're not being asked to include sites on a final plan. We're being asked to assess sites and come up with a Regulation 19 plan. That is the stage where we actually commit something to say this is the local plan that we wish to have move forward. There are more sites in this consultation that are needed to satisfy the plan. And we can add sites that are not here later on. What we cannot do is reject the plan, go back to the beginning, restart the process and expect it to be finished in time, because it won't. The timescale for submitting a plan is so tight that it may not even be possible to revise the plan. It has been asked, would it have been more appropriate to delay until after the current by-election in the Royds? But the officer advice was we really don't have that latitude. We don't have the time to delay it. Rejecting it now doesn't just eat into some of our spare time, it eats all of it and more. And is that what anybody wants? Not having a plan doesn't mean the sites identified in this plan are removed and are unavailable for development. It means the opposite. It means that everything is in play and we're at the mercy of developers and the planning inspectorate. Or will we magically come up with a better Regulation 18 plan somehow? As soon as someone calls for a site that is their pet hate to be taken out, surely so does somebody else from another part of the borough. Very soon we get to the position where anything anyone doesn't like is excluded from consideration, and the plan is substantially short of the numbers the MHCLG has demanded. It doesn't then meet the requirement, and again we miss the time frame. I ask you to not consider, do I want development on all my land in my area? The question is there an alternative to moving this onwards and getting a plan done in time? And frankly, there isn't an alternative. We have to follow this or we won't have time to develop our plan. It will be returned to us and we will end up having a plan imposed on us from the government. That is the worst scenario. So I urge you to support moving this local plan to the Regulation 18 stage. Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks so much. I shall call on Councillor Cohen, please.
Mr. Mayor, I must begin by being absolutely clear. What we have before us this evening is the Labour and Liberal Democrat administration's draft local plan for consultation, the penultimate stage of the local plan. It is their plan. It's been proposed by Councillor Nick Oakley as Cabinet Member for Planning and seconded by the leader of the Liberal Democrat group, Councillor Shenton. We are told that this document fulfills the Council's obligation to produce an up-to-date local plan and to bring an end to speculative application. And yes, we all agree that having a local plan matters. We've been waiting 3 years for this administration to get one. But this document, in its current form, raises some very serious concerns, because this is not just another report. This is a document for consultation that will shape the future of Hertsmere, our communities, our green belts, and the character of the places our residents call home. Mr. Mayor, a plan must actually be a plan. The Oxford Dictionary defines a plan as a detailed proposal for achieving something. That is the fundamental issue here. What we have in front of us is not a detailed proposal. It's a list, a very long list of sites and a long list of housing numbers, but without the detail that allows councillors or residents to properly understand what is being proposed. Where is the infrastructure plan? Where is the detail on roads, on transport capacity, on school places, on healthcare provision? Without this, how are residents meant to engage meaningfully in this consultation? How can they give informed views on sites in their communities where they are being asked to comment in the dark? That is not proper consultation, that is not transparency, and it is certainly not good planning. And then we come to the scale. This is where the plan completely loses touch with reality. Hertsmere's current adopted local plan delivers 3,990 homes, around 266 homes per year. And even at that level, there have been years where developers haven't even been able to build 250 homes here. Now compare that to what is being proposed. 1,212 homes per year, over 16,000, nearly 17,000 homes over the plan. That is not a small increase. It's not even a significant increase. It is a 355% increase in annual housing delivery for Hertsmere, more than 3.5 times what is not being built now. Mr. Mayor, in a borough like Hertsmere, with extensive green belts, that is not just ambitious, it is unrealistic. Bournemouth and Elstree have planned over 5,600 homes on Greenbelt. Potters Bar, over 2,600 homes, with a possible 900 more to come on Greenbelt. Bushy, over 2,000 homes on Greenbelt, and Radlett's nearly 3,000 homes on Greenland. So the questions we and our residents must ask are simple. Why do we need these massive increase in houses? It is assumed, but not evidenced. Where is the evidence that this borough can sustain that level of growth? There is none in these papers. Where is the infrastructure to support it? Where is the workforce to build it? And where is the delivery track record that gives confidence that this is achievable? Without answers, these are not targets. They are just numbers on a page. And a plan based on unrealistic numbers is a plan that will fail at inspection, costing our residents millions and leading to more speculative, unplanned development. You cannot simply triple housing targets in a constrained Greenbelt borough and call it a plan. That is not planning, that is wishful thinking and destruction. And this goes to the heart of the issue. This administration is not prepared or able to stand up for Hertsmere. Not on housing numbers, not on Greenbelt protection, not on HMOs. At every turn, Labour follows its national leadership, while the Liberal Democrats appear to be silent partners. But this plan could not be here without their support. They do not challenge, but we challenge them to stand up and be counted. Mr. Mayor, I now have to turn to the most alarming issue, which is the process. As a member of the planning panel, the only route for council involvement, I will say this plainly to you all. This has not been a proper democratic process. We saw these sites just 2 weeks ago as a list, and not even the same list we have tonight. No time to review, no scrutiny, and no inputs. And it goes further. Today we're being presented, you may see, with policies, hundreds of pages of them, that will form the backbone of the local plan. Policies that will shape development for years to come, balancing housing, transport, infrastructure, sustainability, and quality of life. Yet the panel has not written them. We have not shaped them. We haven't even seen them. And nowhere is that failure clearer than in the policy on affordable housing, H4. This is a Labour-led administration, a party that claims to stand up for affordable housing. Yet here in Hertsmere, they are reducing the requirement, cutting it down to 30% on brownfield sites. Let's be absolutely clear. Our Conservative plan required 40%. Their previous plan was 40%. National policy allows up to 50%. This is their choice, a political choice by this Labour Lib Dem coalition to require less affordable housing from developers. So while they talk about a housing crisis, while they talk about helping young families, while they talk about fairness, in reality, they are asking developers to deliver fewer affordable homes. That means more people priced out, more pressure on local families. Residents expect better and Labour promised better, but that's not happened here and that is not good enough. Promises were made. 3 years ago, their leader, Councillor Newmark, stood up and said, Labour will deliver a new people-powered local plan within 6 months. We will protect Greenbelt as our top priority. We will safeguard over 99% of Hertsmere's Greenbelt. Well, 6 months has become 3 years. The only residents involved in this local plan were the Labour councillors opposite us, and that was by WhatsApp messages. And now we see a plan that releases more Greenbelt than anyone fears. The Liberal Democrats in Bushy promised their electors on every single leaflet that they would protect the Greenbelt in Bushy. Let me quote from their website now, referring to last consultation, boasting to residents, removing Greenbelt sites from the local plan was our primary aim as Lib Dems in Bushy. And while Bushy must still contribute, they said, to the borough's housing needs, new homes will entirely be allocated to brownfield and previously developed land. Well, residents of Bushy, it is now very clear that your Lib Dem councillors have all failed you. Their plan is over 3,000 homes for the Greenbelt in Bushy. Residents were promised protection, instead they are being failed. What we have is a plan that goes further than anything previously proposed, but with less clarity, less involvement and less confidence. And Mr. Mayor, there are alternatives. Across the country, there are over 1 million homes with already granted planning permission that have not been built. Why are we not focusing on these first? Why are we not fixing that system? Allocating more land without delivery, without infrastructure, without a credible plan is not the answer. And this matters because our residents and us care deeply about where they live. They care about their Greenbelt and they care about the pressure already on infrastructure. And they care about whether growth is properly planned or imposed without their involvement. And right now, this document gives no confidence that their concerns will be heard. Labour promised change. The Liberal Democrats promised to protect Bush's Greenbelt. Instead, residents are now facing a plan that is larger, more intrusive and more damaging than anything proposed before. And that is the reality for us all. This administration has lost touch with its principles and turned its back on the residents it promised to protect. But residents will have their say. And when they do, they will send a clear message that this scale of development, this level of Greenbelt release, and these unrealistic targets are not acceptable. So the message from this Conservative group tonight is clear to you. Stand up to national policy. Do not hide behind it. Protect our Greenbelt. Do not keep giving it away. And bring forward a plan that is realistic, deliverable and evidence-based. And above all, listen to our residents and their responses to this consultation and act. Because what we have before us is not a plan for Hertsmere. It is not something being done for our borough. It is something being done to it. And we Conservatives will continue to stand up for our residents, defend our borough and its Greenbelt, and hold this administration to account.
Okay. Yes, I shall call on Councillor Amron, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, so let me be clear that after nearly 3 years in the making, that as it stands, this is not a plan I can support. The scale and distribution of the proposed developments is mind-blowing and would completely change the whole character of our borough in ways that are neither justified nor properly mitigated. And it has left many of us extremely concerned, and to say many of our residents alarmed is an understatement. Our residents are already speaking their minds. and telling us that they are not anti-development per se, they're not unreasonable, but they do not want many parts of the borough turning into a concrete jungle. They are asking entirely fair questions. Where is the infrastructure? How are the badly maintained roads going to cope? Where are the GP appointments going to come from and the school places? Where is the credible plan to ensure that growth is sustainable rather than imposed? Why has the much-loved Composers Park in Elstree, for instance, been earmarked in the plan, while other seemingly more appropriate sites seem to have been overlooked entirely? And on top of that, with me doing a little bit of scrutiny, it seems that the document contains numerous factual inaccuracies. At present, that's not good enough. This draft plan risks placing an intolerable strain on our communities, eroding green spaces and the character of historic settlements, and undermining the very qualities that make Hertsmere a really wonderful place to live in. A local plan should shape growth responsibly. This one, I fear, risks overwhelming us. We must also be frank about the wider context. Changes to the MPPF introduced by the government, and particularly introduction and expansion of the so-called grey belt, have significantly raised the stakes for authorities like us here at Hertsmere. They've tilted the balance further towards development and made it much harder to defend large areas from being built on. But let me be equally clear, those changes make it more important to get this plan right, and there's not an excuse to get it wrong. And what we have before us tonight does not appear to meet that standard. Indeed, in this more permissive national environment, a weak or poorly justified local plan is not just inadequate, it seems actively dangerous. It risks opening the door to exactly the kind of speculative development that residents fear, with even less ability for this council to say no. So we must be honest about the position we're in. If we simply reject this draft tonight, we do not pause development, we risk losing control of it altogether. Under the MPPF, authorities without a progressing plan are far more vulnerable to speculative applications and developer-led appeals. This is not a theoretical risk, it's a very real one, and one that could leave our residents facing exactly the kind of unplanned piecemeal development that they fear the most. Its impact grows the longer we remain without an adopted plan. For me, this is not about endorsing the plan, it's about whether we allow our residents the opportunity to have their say and whether we retain at least some control over the process moving forward. Regulation 18 is the consultation stage, as our colleagues have already told you, and not the final word, and our residents deserve to be heard before anything is set in stone. So let me be very clear about this. If this plan comes forward in anything like its current form when it gets towards Reg 19, I will oppose it, my group Hertsmere First will oppose it, and we will stand with our residents in doing so. Between now and then, I hope that the coalition will listen very carefully to everyone's views this evening, and we expect to see a serious reassessment of housing numbers, a genuine brownfield first strategy, real deliverable infrastructure commitments, not vague assurances, and real and meaningful engagement with the communities most affected. Because without these changes, this plan will not just fail politically, it will fail the test of soundness. This administration has had 3 years to bring forward a plan. What we have before us tonight falls well short of what Hertsmere deserves. But our responsibility this evening is not only to express our frustration, it is to act in the best long-term interests of this borough. And that means ensuring residents have a strong voice. That means maintaining as much control as we can in this very challenging planning environment. So let me end where I began and make it clear that this draft in its current form is not acceptable, but I'm not blocking consultation, as we will not stand in the way of residents using their voice. And let me be clear that allowing consultation is not endorsing this plan. So tonight my position is straightforward. We will support giving residents their voice, but we will not support a plan that fails to listen to them. And the responsibility now sits squarely with this administration to prove that it will listen, the consultation will be real, that it will be open-minded, and it will lead to meaningful change. If it does not, this plan will not have our support at the next stage. Thank you.
Yeah, I shall call upon Councillor Clapper to respond, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. This is one of the most important decisions we will ever take as a council, and we need to be clear about what is being put forward in front of us tonight. This local plan sets out over 16,000 new homes across our borough. That is not incremental growth. That is a fundamental reshaping of Hertsmere being brought forward without the infrastructure to support it. Residents already know the reality. Congested roads, GP surgeries stretched, schools under pressure, public transport that does not meet demand. Yet we're being asked to accept thousands more homes without clear, funded, deliverable infrastructure to match. That is not planning. That is development first, infrastructure later. Nowhere is this more stark than in Radlett and Aldenham. If you look at the plan, particularly page 324, we are not talking about small allocations. We are talking about multiple large sites across Radlett. SA1 at Watling Street, 20 homes. SA2 Car Park and Railway Cottages, 37 homes. SA3 north of Watford Road and Kent Road, 972 homes. SA4 south of Watford Road, 450 homes. SA5 south of Shenley Hill, 195 homes. SA6 Home Farm, 1,040 homes. SA7 Starve Acres and surrounding land, 190 homes. Taken together, that is over 2,900 homes in Radlett alone. That level of development risks overwhelming the village and fundamentally changing its character. We are already seeing what that looks like. An application has come forward for 86 homes at Starve Acres, part of SA7 already, at a density significantly higher than the Radlett neighbourhood plan. So even before this plan is adopted, pressure is building for more intensive development than residents planned for. Then there's Radlett Garden Suburb. Even on its own, it represents a 20% increase in the entire population of Radlett. That is a step change. And again, the same question applies. Where is the infrastructure? Where are the roads? Where are the schools? Where is the healthcare capacity? Not aspirations, not future funding bids, but clear, deliverable infrastructure alongside development. Because without that, growth becomes unsustainable. And we must also look at the council's own evidence. The Office of Viability work makes clear there are real challenges. There is a gap between the ambition of the plan and what is realistically deliverable, particularly once infrastructure costs are taken into account. So we're being asked to consider large-scale development without certainty that infrastructure can actually be funded and delivered. We are told this is about consultation, and yes, consultation is important. It is meant to allow residents to challenge sites and shape what comes next. But we need to ask you a direct question, Councillor Oakley. Will these objections actually change anything? Officers have made it clear this is not simply a numbers exercise. It's not about how many objections are received, but about technical assessments and wider considerations. So residents will ask, what is the value of consultation if the direction is already set? If people raise serious concerns, will this plan be amended? Or are we being asked to comment on something that has already been decided? Because this consultation must be genuine. It must lead to change. Otherwise, it will risk losing public trust and undermine that. And we've already seen what happens when development gets ahead of infrastructure. The Shenley Hill appeal is a clear example. Hundreds of homes approved despite local concern, not because people supported it, but because the system allowed it. That is why getting this plan right matters. But this plan, as it stands, is not right. It is driven by numbers, not places. It relies on assumptions, not certainty, and it places too much pressure on communities that simply cannot sustain it. This plan is too much, too fast, and too uncertain. So, if we move to consultation, this consultation must genuinely mean something. It must result in real change, it must remove unsuitable sites, and it must produce a plan that people can live with. If our residents speak and nothing changes, and I am holding a public meeting to try and encourage residents to speak, because I think it's very important that we do have an opportunity to whittle down the sites. It's going to be on Tuesday, the 28th of April at Aldenham Golf Club. I hope as many of you as possible will come and do as much as you can to get engaged in the consultation. But if residents speak and nothing changes, then this is not a local plan shaped by our communities. It is one imposed on them. And that is something that we on this side will not accept. So thank you in advance for your responses to my questions. And thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks so much. Yeah. Yeah. After every other member who wishes to speak will have 2 minutes. I'll go with Councillor Kaza, please.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
This local plan is an essential and positive step towards ensuring that the borough grows in a balanced, sustainable and well-managed way. As population pressures increase due to the fact that Hertsmere Borough Council is the last fair stop in Zone 6, and our population in Hertsmere Borough Council is increasing by 1% every year. One of the key advantages of local plan is a proactive approach. to meeting housing demand. At present, there are a lot of people in LST and Borehamwood who are paying more than 50% of their income by way of rent. By identifying the appropriate areas for development, it helps deliver new homes, including affordable housing, while maintaining a mix of property types suitable for different age groups and income levels. This supports community stability and allows younger generations to remain within the borough. Improving the plan does not prioritize growth at any cost. It includes measures that protect the green belt and has been developed keeping in mind the government definition of grey belt and other valued open spaces, ensuring that Hertsmere retains its distinctive character and environmental assets. Development and directed towards the most sustainable locations, helping to minimize environmental impact while making efficient use of land. Currently, the plan in its shape is for public consultation, allowing residents to have a say in how their areas evolve. Thank you very much.
I shall now call on Councillor Selby to add her voice. Yeah.
I want to focus on the proposal to build 2,904 new homes across 7 sites, primarily on Greenbelt land in Radlett. Let's be clear about what this means. Radlett is not a town with endless spare capacity. It is a community carefully balanced with infrastructure already under strain. Yet this plan proposes to nearly double our population in Radlett without any credible, detailed or deliverable plan for the infrastructure that such expansion would demand. Where are the new schools? Where are the expanded GP surgeries? Where are the road improvements to deal with the inevitable congestion? These are not minor oversights. They are fundamental responsibilities. Growth without infrastructure is not planning, it is neglect. And then there is the green belt, the very reason many of us choose to live in Radlett. Once that land is gone, it is gone forever. This plan does not just propose development, it proposes a permanent and irreversible change to the identity of our town. Residents in Radlett opposed the last draft local plan due to the impact on the green belt, but this draft is even more detrimental to the green belt. The number of new homes on our green belt land is staggering. 1,040 at Home Farm, 972 north of Watford Road, 450 south of Watford Road, and 190 at Star Acres. These are the fields that Radlett residents walk on every day and which are farmed with crops and animals, including cows and sheep. Radlett residents care about where they live, and this consultation has to listen to the people. We understand the need for housing, but development must be proportionate, sustainable, and supported by infrastructure. So what we're asking for is simple: a plan that is fair, a plan that is evidence-based, and a plan that protects Radlett's character while planning responsibly for the future, and a consultation process that actually listens to our residents. Thank you.
Councillor Rani, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It is important that we are clear about what this stage of the local plan represents. This is not a final plan, and it's not a set of decisions. This is the earliest stage, a consultation on a long list of potential sites. Many of these sites will not be taken forward. What matters now is how we use this stage properly. This is a genuine opportunity for residents to shape the future of our borough. This is where democracy is most meaningful, when people have the chance to influence what stays, what changes, and what is removed altogether. We need to be clear and responsible in how we communicate this plan, are tested, refined, and reduced as they progress. We need to work alongside our residents. This plan must be shaped and driven by them. We will listen, we will engage, and we will ensure their voices are part of this process. So the message is simple. This is the moment to get involved. Have your say when the consultation opens, because what comes next will be shaped by the voices we hear throughout this process. Thank you.
Yeah, I shall call upon Councillor Sullivan, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. For this consultation to be meaningful, we must start with the document itself. In its current form, it contains errors, inconsistencies, and unnecessary complexity. If we want residents to engage, they must first be able to understand what they are reading. Is this the final document that residents will see? How are residents expected to know this consultation is even happening? Residents do not just want any development, they want it purposeful, appropriate house building that offers opportunities for families, young people, and for the long-term sustainability of our communities. A major point being put out by the administration is that this is a long list of sites and the plan will not contain a lot of the controversial sites, and this is not true. Many brownfield sites in this document are undeliverable, so to make up the 16,000 plus required, the deliverable greenbelt sites will have to be put forward, and this is a true reality. The Labour national targets cannot be met for this local plan. But the crux of this issue is clear to me and my Conservative group. Will you truly listen to the feedback of residents? Will this consultation genuinely shape the final Regulation 19 plan? Or have we reached a point where residents feel so overwhelmed by repeated consultations that they no longer believe that they are being heard? And while certain sites may not be included at this stage, if appeals are successful, many may return, raising further concerns about transparency and trust in the process. And if we are serious about engagement, we must ensure the document is accurate and accessible, that we communicate the consultation widely and clearly, actually reach all communities, including those who are digitally excluded, and engage with businesses, and above all, demonstrate that feedback will genuinely influence outcomes. Otherwise, this risks becoming a tick box exercise rather than a genuine conversation with our residents. And we will be voting for this going to consultation, as we believe residents deserve to be heard, even if you do not like the answers. So I urge every resident in this room and beyond to engage in the consultation process. But before I finish, Mr. Mayor, as per our constitution, I would like to request a motion that when we take this item to the vote, Mr. Mayor, that we vote in parts. I have a seconder, and I urge members to support the constitutional ability.
Your time is up.
Rise to second that motion.
Yeah,
Mr. Mayor,
Sorry, can we just clarify? So what is it you're asking to take in parts?
The recommendations, Mr. Mayor. So at the end of the debates, when everyone's had their say, we'd like to vote in parts. I put it in my speech to make it quite succinct so we didn't waste time later.
So just to clarify for members, there's no speech for or against. This is a straight vote, the same as we did on the previous one, as to whether or not the four recommendations will be taken separately as shown on the screen now. Can I just do it by a quick show of hands? That motion falls.
Mr. Mayor, can I ask for a recorded vote? I don't believe it did fail fully. I know it may have, but I can't see it was too quick. Thank you. So people didn't have a chance to abstain.
So just to clarify, you'll be appearing on the screen in a second. This is
point of order, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, okay, what's your point of order?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Under the constitutional rules and procedure for meetings, it's absolutely clear. A proposition was put forward by a member. You chose to put that proposition to the vote. You declared the result of that vote. The debate must now continue, Mr. Mayor. You called a vote. You declared the outcome of that vote. And the debate must continue. Let's end the prevarication tactics. Let's go back to democracy and debate the issues, not bureaucratic filibustering techniques.
You have made your point, Yeah, please go ahead.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. The leader just said that the vote was taken and recorded. It wasn't recorded. That the result was announced. The result was not announced by you, Mr. Mayor. The result was announced by Democratic Services without actually giving people the option to raise their hands. I was never asked to raise my hand. No, it was not done clearly. And if you can ask anybody in this chamber, did you see a show of hands one way or the other? And the answer is no. So, Mr. Mayor, it is within your prerogative to offer the recorded vote and deal with this in a proper and democratic manner.
Please sit down.
Thank you.
Please sit down. Yeah. Can I have your attention, your undivided attention, please? Yes. I think we're going to go for a recorded vote, please.
So just to confirm, this is a recorded vote to take the items on the screen as 4 separate votes when we come to the end of this item.
Yeah, those who didn't vote, can you show your hands, please? Yeah, how did you vote, please, Mr. You said yes. Okay, 4. Okay, and I think I saw your hands, Councillor Clapper. Did you? Or 4? And who else is? No, because the thing is not working properly at times, you know. Yeah. Okay. 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 Now it has been is in favor. Excuse me. Can I have your attention, please? We're all mature folks here. Let's behave in. You see the public here. I mean, we have to set examples for the folks, and we are the elected or representatives here. And if we go on the contrary side, and it will not tell well for this council. So please, I need your undivided attention.
Just to confirm for members, the 2 votes which are showing as not recorded are Councillors Rosehill and Clapper. They've indicated they've voted in favour of voting by parts, and therefore it will be that's a majority. So it'll be voting parts at the end of the debate. Yeah.
Okay, now we are going to continue with the debate, please. Okay. Yeah, we're going to carry on with the debate, and I shall call upon Councillor Ponder, please.
Thank you very much. Whilst we'll recognise the urgent need for a new housing across the borough, I don't believe this has the confidence of our residents. In 2022, nearly 20,000 residents objected to the previous draft local plan, largely due to concerns about development on greenbelt land. That response was clear and significant. It reflected a deeply held view across our communities. When I was elected in 2023 to represent Bushey St James, I made a firm commitment to impose the inclusion of Compass Park and Herts Farm in any future draft local plan. Those sites remain acceptable to the residents I represent. I recognise that moving towards Regulation 19 is a statutory requirement and that consultation is an essential part of the process. But we must be honest, after such overwhelming opposition, how can we expect residents to support a plan that appears to revisit similar proposals? This risks damaging public trust. It creates the impression that we're not listening but simply asking the same questions again and hoping for a different answer. We already know the strength and feelings of residents throughout Hertsmere. Asking residents to reconsider sites they've already rejected does not build confidence. In my opinion, it undermines it. I accept the time pressures we face, but urgency must not come at the expense of sound ideas and planning. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I shall call upon Councillor Bright. Then thereafter, I'll go over to Councillor Rosehill.
No,
Oh,
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Mayor. I actually changed. Everyone's got a speech. I kind of changed mine a bit based on what people are saying. I'm somewhat concerned by the tone and the body language of both the proposer, Councillor Oakley, and the seconder, Councillor Shenton. But two councillors I have a lot of time and respect for. I was expecting tonight something more forthright, something that's more gathering people around, putting their arms around people, saying, "This is what we've got to do. This is what it is." It actually, I think, it was quite a little bit more downbeat than I expected. And then I wondered why that was. And I'm wondering if it's because they know, as I do, and I shall read this out, that actually just by identifying pieces of land, which therefore later on can get taken out, can't find it, I was looking at it before, even if get taken out, by identifying them in a draft local plan in the first place, increases the chance of them being developed at a later stage. It is not acceptable for Councillor Oakley and for Councillor Shenton to say, "Don't worry, we've shoved everything in there, we've chucked everything in, including the bath, but what we'll do is we can take them out later on." It is not actually accurate. And if anyone who remembers what happened when Labour last were running this council in 1996, they did it with Woodcock Hill. It took 10 years before we could get that turned into a village green because it had been identified in a draft local plan and they took it out and said, no, sorry, we don't have to worry about that now. It was too late. So you're absolutely wrong, and I'm sorry about that. Now, look, a year ago, I did state in full council that any draft local plan produced was unlikely to pass examination by the planning inspector. It is clear to me that this administration is running down the clock until the end of the term, possibly getting a plan in by the end of 2026. We know it takes 6 to 9 months to be considered by inspectors, and where does that take us? Post May 2027, and whatever elections there may or may not be next year. So meanwhile, sadly, significant planning money, officer time and resident concern is continuing to be spent, and we have no protection from the ongoing speculative planning applications, especially on the green belt. I do support it going out to public consultation. I hope as many people speak as did previously, because we listened and we withdrew our plan. Let's see what
your time is up. Your time is up, Councillor. I shall call upon Councillor Green, please. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. The first time I ever stood up in this chamber, I spoke about planning, and I made the point that where I live now was a field when I was growing up. And it's houses now, and it's houses now because somebody really brave and had vision and probably a little bit of opposition decided to develop a site in Potters Bar and put houses on it. And because they did that, I'm able to live there, and my children were able to grow up in Potters Bar. I could live around the corner from my mum. Because we all know that planning and building requires bravery. And it's also the law. We would love, wouldn't we, to have only the sites that everyone wants a house on in a plan. But we know, don't we, that there are so many sites that people don't want. So I don't take the view that you just shove everything in and don't worry, we'll get rid of the rubbish ones. Because of course there are going to be brilliant ideas in this plan, and there are going to be some awful ones as well. We are legally obliged to tell the government where all our potential building sites could be. And it's now our job to take it to the public for you to have your say on what you think is a good idea or not. Your councillors will have their ideas of what is a good idea or not, but that might not be the same as yours. So I urge everyone to vote for this, and I do believe in democracy, and I do believe that the public have a right to their say, and they will have a right to their say. And unlike anything said against it, that they just shoved their plan in the bin, I really hope that we won't, because if we don't, we'll have it done to us. Thank you.
Please. Yeah. Okay. I shall call upon Councillor Brisky, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This consultation document proposes an additional 8,000 homes in Elstree and Boreham Wood. Once again, Boreham Wood becomes Labour's dumping ground. Assuming an average occupancy of assuming an average occupancy of 2 residents per dwelling, the Conservative estimate, Elstree and Boreham Wood face a 40% increase in its population compared to 2021 over the course of this plan. But according to the ONS, the number of deaths in the UK is meant to start exceeding the number of births from this year onwards. So residents ask us, who exactly are the Labour government telling us to build these new homes for? I think we all know the answer to the question. They say it's because we have the best infrastructure, but they also tell us that the infrastructure delivery plan will be published after this consultation. So how exactly are residents meant to give their views on these proposals when it's the infrastructure that will underpin everything? And when we desperately need affordable housing, this Labour Party, yes, this Labour Party, decides to sneak in a policy change that will decrease developers' affordable housing contributions from the current 35% to 30%, despite the technical evidence identifying the need for a higher requirement. I wonder how many Labour Party events local developers sponsored before that policy change was decided. However, Mr. Mayor, I want this consultation. I know from experience that things can change after Regulation 18. So it's time for our residents to tell this Labour Party what they really think of their development plans. So to the people of Hertsmere, I say, it's time to make your voice heard.
Yes, Councillor Chalice, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's been really helpful hearing all of her thoughts this evening, and I think what first of all needs to be acknowledged is the huge amount of work that has gone into this. I know that it is not going to appear as an appealing thing on its surface. I completely get that. And I think this is why it's absolutely essential that it does go out to consultation. And for anything but that to happen would be an absolute, it would be appalling to residents. And this is why this stage is so important, consultation. Unfortunately, as a council, we are placed in a position where people place expectations on us that we do not like. And I will not hide the fact that I have been shocked at some of what has come forward at times. And I will continue to voice that, and I will certainly do my best to voice both to carry forward the voice of the residents who elected me. And this is why I will be fully supporting this going out to consultation hopefully from now. And also I do at the same time want to pay a huge amount of respect to Councillor Oakley, who has been driving this forward, and the officers, but particularly Councillor Oakley, because it's, let's face it, it's not particularly pleasant. A lot of you have come along this evening and you're not happy, and I understand that. So thank you for coming, and thank you for also conducting yourselves in such a calm way. I fully understand that this is a motive, and thank you all.
I shall call on Councillor Hodgson Jones, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Politics and governance is about making choices, and sometimes choices involve trade-offs, and we have to recognise. My father always used to tell me that if a job is worth doing, it's worth doing well. But quality and quick are not always the same thing. And so sometimes when there are high time pressures, you lose quality. And sometimes if you're going to do the job properly, it takes longer than the time in hand. But then what have we got here tonight? We have got all the hallmarks of a rushed effort. 3 years ago, we were told it would take 6 months. Today, we're being told that there are only 9 months left and we must rush it. Well, if it was possible to deliver a complete plan in 6 months 3 years ago, why is it that we are now being faced with something that is full of errors, omissions, lacking things, and we're being told we have to deal with it because we are up against a time barrier? That is because this council's administration has been sloppy, slipshod, trying to pull the wool over residents' eyes, because it is not trying to serve residents, it's trying to serve the government, who have unreal expectations. Now, earlier this evening, I made an intervention, and I'm grateful to the members of the chamber for supporting it, because we have 4 recommendations. The original paper only had 3. Recommendation 4 is that we delegate to the very people who failed to deliver a proper plan in a timely manner the decision to take it forward without further consultation after the consultation period. That is unacceptable.
Your time, your time is up, please. Yeah. I shall call upon Councillor Allen, please.
What a display of humbug and hypocrisy from these benches. I'll take no lessons from those who got us into this mess in the first place. Councillor Cohen put almost all these sites on his own plan 5 years ago, and his colleagues voted en masse to proceed. When people didn't like it, he turned into brave Sir Robin from Monty Python and ran away. Now he takes the exact opposite position and provides plenty of sanctimony, but no solutions nor ideas of his own. Somehow we have to get this done. But if the principle is sound process, that must be absolute and fully transparent to retain public trust. On this, I feel more work is required. The PB Greenbelt site, which could deliver 900 homes, is not on the list. I understand this is on legal advice because the developer has lodged an appeal, but none of this has been explained in public, nor the advice published, and as there's a by-election nearby in 15 days, we need to be very clear about why there's a handy note from Mum. Meanwhile, there are 2 major sites in Bushey on this list, which will also become legally active within a few weeks. An appeal is certain at Harts Farm, and Compass Park comes to committee next month. Yet legal advice has not been sought for either of those cases. That disparity makes me uneasy, as do the other gaps in the story. The document is a bit hazy about sites for new secondary schools, which could be a real snafu later. Bowman's Cross, which should have saved everyone's bacon, is written off in 2 paragraphs. Some sites with permission are missing, and others, like the car parks, are not plausible. Where does that leave us? To square these circles, we need collaboration and compromise, but also confidence.
Your time is up, please. Your time is up, please. Please sit down. Good. Good. I shall call upon Councillor Quilty, please.
On now. Right, one fundamental principle that must guide us through this plan, and that is adequate infrastructure must accompany developments to ensure we build responsibly without compromising our environment. This plan unfortunately fails that test. There's no infrastructure in it. In Bushey, I'm deeply concerned by the impact on Greenbelt land, especially HBUSA SA4 at Little Bushey Lane and HBUSA SA5 Compass Park near Farmway, Bushey. These projects threaten to overwhelm us with traffic chaos and put unsustainable strain on local facilities, detracting from the quality of life we have worked so hard to maintain. I urge all councillors tonight to put aside political differences and let the administration know these sites should be rejected. That said, we must promote the consultation, giving residents a real chance to shape our future before we vote on their wishes at Regulation 19. Our residents trust us to safeguard Hertsmere's open spaces. We must not be swayed by misleading promises or short-term gains peddled and dictated to by Whitehall. I believe in a vision that protects our environment. Our children's lives are at stake here. The choice is ours. Let's engage with the consultation, then vote on Regulation 19 in due course.
I shall call upon Councillor Giorgio, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Quilty, what children's children? None of them being born. They haven't got anywhere to live. The local plan is one of the most important pieces of work a borough council was responsible for. It will set the direction of development for the next 15 years and shape the towns and villages of our borough for hundreds of years to come. It is vital that councils responsibly and diligently publish sites which might be included and thoroughly consult with our residents to ensure that we deliver the homes Hertsmere residents desperately need, whilst also balancing the need and duty to protect and improve on our natural environment. The spatial strategy to redevelop our towns is therefore the right one. This consultation includes many brownfield sites which are needed for redevelopment. For example, in Potters Bar, residents would be welcome to the redevelopment of Potters Bar Bus Garage, as alongside delivering 119 homes and more shops, this would reduce the issues around employee parking and empty buses causing nearby traffic and pollution. In my ward of Oakmere, I favour the redevelopment of the sites on Barnet Road, as this would provide a location for more modern shops as well as 25 homes. Similarly, the relocation of the fire station and redevelopment of office sites enables us to build homes whilst protecting more greenbelt. While there are also some sites which I personally do not think are suitable to be developed, such as behind Park Avenue, as this is the last field separating Potters Bar from the M25, villages such as Aldenham, Shenley and certain sites in South Mims could also benefit from more homes, as this would positively contribute to these villages' ability to offer local services for their residents. As a young person who saved for many years to make it onto the property ladder, I understand that the largest component of the cost of living crisis is the housing crisis. Hertsmere's young adults should not be priced out of the communities that they have grown up in. It is for these reasons that I support this consultation moving forward and to allow the public to decide. Thank you.
Thanks. I shall call upon Councillor Lambert, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've got 2 minutes to cover a 350-page draft local plan, a plan with vagaries, holes, and overgeneralized motherhood and apple pie assertions, which are not feasible or realistic. It's acknowledged that Radlett is a small town, but the plan continues to refer to Radlett as a village. Make your mind up about how it is defined for the purpose of planning. It makes a big difference in the green-grey belt arguments. The intention for Radlett is 2,900 homes, 95% increase in housing, effectively doubling the size of the town. A doubling the size of the town is difficult to reconcile with the key spatial objectives, quote, residential growth within Radlett, primarily through the sensitive development of previously developed land, infill development, and the efficient use of underutilized sites within the existing urban areas. This statement gives the impression that much of the land for new homes will come from previously developed land. This is an untruth, or at least a misrepresentation of the truth. The statement is difficult to reconcile with the plan proposal of 2,847 new homes on agricultural land, whilst only 57 are being built on previously developed land. less than 2% of the earmarked land is previously developed. I shall vote for consultation so that residents can air their views, and I'm sure they will do in the strongest terms. Thank you.
Councillor Butler, please, you can add your voice.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is an important moment for our borough. The Regulation 18 consultation is not the final plan. It's the starting point. It's the stage where we open the doors and say clearly to our residents, your voice matters. Your voice matters, and you have a real opportunity to shape what comes next. Because let's be honest about what a local plan is. It is one of the most significant things we do as a council. It shapes where our homes go, where our jobs go, how our towns grows, and how we protect the characters of places, people, and that we care deeply about. And that is exactly why this consultation matters so much. We want to hear from residents. We want to hear from our community groups. We want to hear from businesses, people who live here and live their lives here, and also those who have just moved in. This is their chance to influence the direction of travel before anything is finalised. So I say this plainly. Anyone who is even considering voting against giving residents that voice, voting against residents having that voice to be able to be heard against this consultation will not be standing up for residents. And let's call it what it is. Voting against this stage is either political point scoring, just the politics, or a fundamental misunderstanding of what Regulation 18 actually is. This is about listening. It's about getting things right. It is about building a plan with our community and not doing something that people don't want. So let's be confident. Let's be open. Let's move forward. Let's put residents first. And members, please vote for this consultation this evening. Thank you.
I shall now move over to Councillor Rosehill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, 6 months, we're 3 years down the line, and this is the result. So I actually just can't believe the Liberals have actually partnered it, to be honest. I do support this report going out to public consultation, but I promise that's not because I suddenly support this plan. I think it's a good plan because I don't. I think it's a truly awful effort. Regulation 18 is about testing ideas in public, and frankly, these particular proposals will benefit enormously from being tested in public, rather than being admired quietly in administration echo chambers. This local plan raises some fairly fundamental questions. So let's take the concept of grey belt. It's an interesting phrase, very modern, very tidy, almost sounds reassuring until you realise that it describes that land that most people would still call countryside, or at the very least land that they would like to still remain not covered in concrete. We talk a lot about England's green and pleasant land, but this plan is a bit like a brochure for England's grey and concrete land. There are also big assumptions in here, right? Assumptions about housing numbers, assumptions about infrastructure catching up later, assumptions about developers suddenly delivering at pace, despite history suggesting otherwise. All of that deserves challenge. Sending this out to consultation is certainly not an endorsement of any of these assumptions. This plan is poorly presented, factually incorrect, and lacking all sorts of detail. So I would strongly encourage residents to engage. If they think scale is wrong, say so. If they think the balance between development and protection is wrong, say so. If they think grey belt is just green belt with budget branding, they should feel free to say that. So yes, I support this going out to public consultation, not because I like it, but because I trust these guys to have their say loudly and clearly. Thank you.
I shall now call upon Councillor Hudson-Jones.
Thank you. I rise to express my deep concern about the proposed 4,048 houses and apartments in the local plan in Potters Bar. Yes, an increase of over 4,000 in Potters Bar alone. It is estimated that there are currently about 9,840 households in Potters Bar, with a population of roughly 24,044. So it doesn't take a genius to work out the population if all 14 sites go ahead. And that doesn't take into account the 900 homes in PB3 that is due to be determined at appeal next month. Of particular concern are the 4 sites SA1, SA2, SA8 and SA14, totalling 1,064 proposed dwellings converging on the Barnet Lane Southgate Road crossroads, which is already currently gridlocked. Similarly, imagine the congestion at the train station if the 284 homes in SA3, SA4 and SA5 are built. SA11 proposes 1,875 houses on Greenbelt on land adjoining Mutton Lane, with all that traffic converging on Mutton Lane. Moreover, our much-loved Greenbelt, a local beauty spot, the former Potters Bar Golf Club, turned into 400 houses with SA13. I urge the residents of Potters Bar to consider the impact that the increased numbers of dwellings in the plan will have on the local community in terms of loss of greenbelt, increased pollution, congestion on the roads, access to local schools and GP surgeries. And I urge the residents to fully engage with this consultation process. I was going to say flawed consultation process, but thank you.
I shall now call upon Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I rise to welcome the launch of this consultation. This is the moment where residents get their say and help shape the future of our borough. That is something we should all support. As a councillor for Cowley Hill, a ward that ranks highest on the indices of multiple deprivation, I speak every day to residents who are desperate for secure, genuinely affordable homes. For them, this is not an abstract debate. It is about whether they can stay in the community they call home. That is why we need a local plan that delivers, one that prioritises social housing and meets real need. The strengthening of the national planning policy framework to ensure social rented homes are delivered in meaningful numbers is a very welcome step forward. I am particularly pleased to see Lyndhurst Farm included, a site that is already demonstrating what good looks like, with a commitment to 100% truly affordable and social homes. This consultation matters. It allows us to test sites, hear from residents, and refine the plan so that we protect what must be protected while identifying the right places for sustainable development. I do find it surprising that some in this chamber appear uncomfortable with this stage. Consultation is not something to fear, it is something to embrace, because every response takes us a step closer to a sound local plan, one that allocates the right sites, protects our environment and delivers the homes our residents so clearly need. Thank you.
I shall move over to Councillor Morris, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The proposal before us gives me significant cause for concern. However, before I set out my concerns, I want to make it clear about my position. I will be supporting the recommendation, not because I agree with the proposals, but because proceeding to consultation is essential. The public and our communities deserve an opportunity to express their views. This has been a long time coming. It has taken 3 years to bring this proposal to this point, when it was promised within 6 months. That delay has consequences. This alone has undermined confidence in this administration. What is particularly troubling is the quality of the document before us. There are basic errors that confuse the public and councillors, particularly when Bushy Heath is labelled Bushy Village and vice versa. These are the sort of mistakes that should have been caught at draft stage. That raises serious questions about whether the author has reviewed the material properly and whether due care has been taken before it was brought forward. There are also inconsistencies in the figures presented. In particular, the numbers relating to Bushy Country Club do not appear to align with what is currently being discussed. When a proposal includes confusion or misalignment of key details, residents left unable to trust what they are being asked to consider. There is a lack of confidence in the portfolio holder and in the work that has led to this point. Therefore, I believe accountability is required. Councillor Oakley should urgently reflect on whether she is fit to fulfil the role of portfolio holder, and if not, then she should step aside and resign so that the council can regain trust and ensure proper scrutiny.
Yeah, your time is up. Yeah, your time is up. Yeah. I shall now call upon Councillor Morris. I mean, Richards, I do apologize. Councillor
Thank you,
Richards.
Mr. Mayor. The term proposal's been used by colleagues opposite. These are not council proposals. The alternative to Reg 18 consultation is not another Reg 18 in a few weeks' time. The real alternative would be the officialisation of planning by appeal. It would be this council abdicating its responsibility as a local planning authority, and it would be a travesty for our residents, because for at least the next 15 years, it would mean more loss of greenbelt, not less. Including a site in Reg 18 does not mean supporting development on that site. Allowing a consultation is not akin to endorsement. As a group, we do have red lines, but there is no conflict between holding these commitments and allowing due process to take place. In the understandable clamour for an updated local plan, it would have been a mistake to jump straight to Reg 19. Shortcuts in plan making do not deliver certainty, they deliver challenge and appeal. I know that from experience. There was a window several years ago when we could potentially have put forward a plan with a reduced housing number. In 2021, my two former colleagues and I were vilified for suggesting the public should not be consulted. That plan was subsequently shelved. The national context has also changed. The NPPF has already changed twice and is likely to change again. The three largest UK political parties are committed to housing numbers in the millions. Conservatives still pledging 1.6 million homes at the last general election. In that environment, Reg 18 is not a delay, it is our defence. It is how we keep control and ensure this plan is shaped with our residents, not imposed on them by appeal. Thank you.
I shall now move over to Councillor Sussman, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a member of the member planning panel, I find it deeply concerning that we're being asked to endorse a document where, quite frankly, the engagement we were promised as panel members did not take place. We only saw a version of this document the last week of March, some 11 months after the call for sites closed and after a void of 8 months without a meeting. And even then, what we are being presented with today is not that same document. It's changed. As members of the planning panel, we had not seen this document. We've had no opportunity to properly review, challenge, or shape this document. In 2023, the administration committed to delivering a local plan within 6 months. Residents were assured it was oven ready. Residents were promised a plan that would protect over 99% of the green belt. And crucially, they were promised a resident-led plan. 3 years and not one resident involved or consulted. It is a plan driven by Councillor Oakley rather than shaped with a planning panel. We all understand the importance of getting a local plan in place, but there's been no scrutiny, no engagement and zero transparency. So for those reasons, whilst we support that we move to Reg 18 so that residents can finally engage, we cannot support noting point 1.3. Mr. Mayor, this was always Councillor Oakley's plan, her way, and now it's time for the residents to have their say. Just before this meeting, we received a 12-page document full of amended errors. There was one typo that hadn't been changed, and that was 10. Bowman's Cross, 500, no, it's 5,000. 16,000 houses, now it's over 20,000 houses.
I shall now call upon Councillor Kaza Jr.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to take this opportunity to assure both members and, more importantly, our residents about what is here before us tonight. Firstly, the list of candidate sites we're discussing today comes from a formal call of sites after looking across Hertsmere. These locations align with the spatial strategy and help us begin drafting a local plan. But let me be crystal clear. This is not a list of sites that will be built on. It is not a program for development. It is simply a starting point to begin with. Inclusion here does not mean planning permission will be granted. It does not mean development is imminent. It does not mean existing businesses will be forced out. In many cases, even if the sites are taken forward, they may not come forward for many years, in some instances for over a decade. Secondly, I want to address some of the tone of some of the commentary that we've seen in recent days. We welcome residents' views. This is a consultation, and residents have as much a right as the council does in shaping this process. So I would encourage you to engage with this process carefully and objectively. Submit your views, make your case, because this plan will ultimately be tested by an independent planning inspector with no connection to our area and completely separate from this council. This inspector will assess whether we have properly identified our needs, balance the impacts, and produce something that's both sustainable and deliverable. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I shall move the word to Councillor Sachet.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, numbers matter. The local plan is about numbers. Numbers are important, and that's why we have record numbers of residents here in the chamber here today. The numbers of families and residents we provide safe housing and infrastructure for is the key reason why we are elected by residents. Sadly, 120 seconds are not enough for me to articulate the problems of the numbers in this proposed local plan, which are fatally flawed. Two examples just from Potters Bar alone in my area. The Potters Bar golf course in my own ward has got 400 homes listed in the local plan, but they already have an application in for 550 homes. As previous finance portfolio holder, I know that we can have a tolerance of small numerical errors, but not when the error is of nearly 90%. Because, for example, Canada Life has put 143 homes through in its proposed plan, and yet the local plan talks about 369 homes. That's a huge difference. There are so many errors have been highlighted throughout this report, but let me just pick up on another couple of areas which haven't been touched upon. There's some interesting things to do with the site capacity totals. Paragraph 17.5 adds up to approximately 18,500 dwellings, whereas table 12.1 talks about nearly 21,500. There's almost 3,000 homes difference there, which is a massive difference. Then there's also another area of massive employment over allocation. Table 7.1 talks about a baseline gross requirement of something like 56,000 square meters, whereas table 12.1 talks about the plan allocating 367,000 square meters. That's 6.5 times the amount actually required. So this administration has lost control of the numbers. The housing targets are contradictory, mathematically flawed, and vastly over-allocate land beyond what is needed by this government. We support consultation.
Your time is up, please. Your time is up. Okay. I shall now call upon Councillor Myers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm speaking tonight as a Potters Bar councillor, but also as a resident, a lifelong resident, focusing on what this item means to my town. Because there's been a lot of noise and a fair amount of scaremongering coming from the usual quarters. So let's be clear, this is not the local plan. This is a consultation, a long list of potential sites, not decisions, not approvals, and not what will ultimately be built out. And those across the chamber should remember, when we sat on the opposition benches, we understood that. We supported the previous administration's Regulation 18 consultation because it's it's the right thing to do for residents to have their say. And crucially, sites did come out between Regulation 18 and Regulation 19. That is how the process is supposed to work. The failure wasn't that consultation. The failure was the plan was shelved and no further work was done, leaving us exposed to speculative applications ever since. So let's not try and rewrite history. Now, anyone standing here opposing everything is missing the point. We do need a plan. And there are sites in Potters Bar that I can see the logic of. SA14 or SA13, the golf course, areas that sit more naturally within the existing town. If they were to be built out, if it's going to be built, it should be places like that, not sprawling unnecessarily into the green belt. But that brings me to SA11, the site of Mutton Lane, for 1,875 homes. Now let's be honest, that is not sensible growth. That is overdevelopment on a completely different scale. The impact on the infrastructure, roads, services, and the character of Potters Bar would be enormous. So I want to be absolutely clear that I will be opposing SA11, and I'll be working with residents across my ward, Bursfield, and the wider town to fight it. And I will take that case wherever it needs to go. Because this process only works if we're honest. Some sites might work, that one doesn't. So to residents...
Your time is up, please. Your time is up. You're most welcome. Yeah. I shall call upon Councillor Matthew.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As many of you know, this is a repeat of the process started in 2021, which was discontinued, and actually includes many of the same sites, but is now responding to substantially increased targets and much greater sanctions set by the Labour government. As housing portfolio holder, we urgently need additional homes, but I want to protect Greenbelt as far as possible. I'm unhappy with the inclusion of a number of sites, but this is a long list, and sites will be removed as we go through the process. To protect Greenbelt, we must demonstrate that we've carried out a comprehensive review of all options and a thorough consultation process. This is genuine consultation, and residents' views will make a real difference. Without a plan, the alternative is chaos, and we'll be unable to prevent detrimental development. It leaves us open to speculative applications, which, if refused, are likely to be overturned by government inspectors. Ultimately, the council could be stripped of its planning powers. Any delay leaves us vulnerable to the tougher regime of the government's new planning system. Local government reform creates further danger, with planning priorities being set by the new unitary authority, which may disregard local views and set disproportionate targets for Hertsmere. I would urge members to support this motion to allow us to exert maximum control to protect our local environment and communities from unacceptable development. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Gray, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The administration made clear its ambition to prepare and submit a Regulation 19 plan by December 2026. After that date, the process needs to commence afresh under new planning systems. Under the Planning and Compulsory Purchase Act of 2004, as amended, the Council is required to produce and publish an up-to-date local plan, a statutory document setting out Hertsmere's long-term strategy for development and growth of the borough. At its meeting on the 6th of March 2025, the Cabinet approved an updated local development scheme, which sets out the timelines to produce Hertsmere's local plan. The LDS was sent to the government in accordance with the chief planning requirements, and this timetable was challenging and had very little scope for delay. At this council's meeting on the 26th of March 2025, the council adopted the overall approach, which would be brownfield first, coupled with sequential approach to greenbelt release. This is reflected in the emphasis on regeneration, focused on town centres, as a way to achieve this. I sit at many planning committees and other meetings where members of the opposition raise the issue of an up-to-date local plan. Now those opposition members want to undermine the objective of putting in a local plan at the earliest opportunity. They want to renege on the assurances we gave to the Chief Planning Inspector when they approved the local development scheme in March 2025. They want to place us at the mercy of developers submitting speculative applications, like we see time and time again at planning meetings, and to run the risk of being designated. If we are designated, we lose control over the planning process. The issues that have been raised in social media and by others are more about trying to undermine the process of bringing forward a new plan than genuine engagement or consultation. They are matters that can be addressed during the consultation. Councillor Brisky, I'm very pleased to hear that you want to hear from your residents. So do I. So I'm glad you will be supporting this going out to consultation this evening, along with my support. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I shall call upon Councillor Newmark. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
As we've heard, this is one of the most important decisions our council will take in this term and perhaps in a generation. It's about whether or not this council takes control of our future through a proper plan-led process, or whether we allow our borough to be shaped by drift, by speculation and by uncertainty. Those are the factors that the previous administration introduced into the equation when they shelved their own failed draft local plan. What we are absolutely clear about tonight is that what is before us is a consultation, not a conclusion. Approving this document for consultation does not mean endorsing every site proposed within it. It doesn't even mean we're signing up to every boundary or every allocation or every conclusion. What it does mean is that we are publishing a serious evidence-based consultation document. We're inviting and welcoming proper challenge, and we're giving residents, businesses and the public the opportunity to help shape the next stage before any final decisions are made. And that distinction matters because, my friends, consultation is not capitulation. It's not a rubber stamp. It's the democratic process working exactly as it should: open, informed and accountable. As we know, the planning landscape's changed fundamentally since last year. National policies shifted. The housing targets are higher. The rules are different. We can debate those housing targets till kingdom come, but the reality is we don't set them. We have to plan for at least that 16,160 homes over the plan period. That requirement isn't something that, as Councillor Cohen seems to be suggesting, we can simply imagine away. Now, you know, I've been clear about my own views. These targets are challenging, but they don't come from nowhere. They're the consequence of a housing deficit that needs to be fixed. They're the consequence of what I feel is a compelling need to ensure that everybody has the opportunity to live in a safe, decent and affordable home near their families and near their communities. It's clear from the speeches we've heard tonight that some of the members opposite have a different set of values and a different set of priorities, and that's fine. We can debate those at another time. But the reality remains, whatever they tell you, those targets are not in our gift, nor are they under our control. So what can we do? Well, what we must do is decide exactly how that growth is planned for, where it goes, how it's delivered, and how we protect and enhance the character of our borough in that process. And that's why tonight matters so much. The site selection process isn't the final answer. It's the beginning of the conversation. To quote word for word Councillor Cohen when he put his failed local plan out to Regulation 18. It is the beginning of a conversation. Now, some of these candidate sites are in the Green Belt, and I'm being candid with you, and I get it, that it will concern many of our residents here this evening, many members in the chamber, and it concerns me. But the truth behind some of the rhetoric that we've heard on social media is that by the time we've eliminated some of those sites at Regulation 19 stage, I expect the remainder of Greenbelt sacrifice to be in the low, if not the very low, single figures. And you know, the underlying truth is this: we listen to the naysayers and we don't plan properly. The Greenbelt won't be protected by the slogans we've heard from Councillor Cohen, Councillor Sullivan and others opposite. Harts Farm, Compass Park, Composers Park and all of those other cherished sites will be further endangered, not protected, if we don't get on with this process, because the alternative before us tonight is not no development. The alternative is speculative, appeal-led development with far less control, far less coherence and far less ability to secure the infrastructure that Councillor Cohen rightly pointed out our communities need. Now, let me address some of the points that have been made this evening. There is a huge evidence base behind this plan, just as Councillor Cohen did with his. That evidence base will be published in full during the consultation That's the way the process works. That's the way Regulation 18 works. That's what he did. The infrastructure development plan, in the same way, will be published tomorrow morning as part of the consultation, but it doesn't form part of the statutory paperwork available to us this evening. I think that Councillor Cohen and Councillor Sullivan actually underestimate and somewhat insult the ability of our residents to engage. We're going out to consultation because we trust them. We don't think they'll be overwhelmed or intimidated. We think they'll come forward with their views, and we'll take those views into account. We won't be taking lectures on delivering affordable homes from Councillor Cohen, because over the past 3 years, we've delivered and approved more than they did in an entire decade. And we won't be taking maths lessons, because 30% of affordable allocation on a much larger total is clearly more affordable homes than 40% on a much smaller total. Councillor Amron, I think your position's honourable. Disagree with us, by all means. Challenge, come forward. That's what you're elected to do as local councillors. But don't block consultation. Don't stop residents getting involved. Councillor Clapper is an exemplar of engaging with the public and public consultation. She asks rightly, is this real? She knows that the proof of the pudding is in the eating. When she came to me on Newbury's car park, she asked me to come and meet with residents. I went into the proverbial lion's den. I did. I listened, and she got the outcome that she rightly deserved. We've demonstrated track record on listening, and that, my friends, we will do again. So let's be honest with the public and honest with ourselves. Not every site in this consultation is right, but it is right that the public get to see the options, test the evidence, and shape the outcome, because that's what responsible leadership looks like. And let's be clear again about the consequences of delay. If we don't move forward, not only will we risk missing the timetable, we'll be breaching the commitment made to the chief planner. It won't be a neutral act. It won't be a democratic act. It will create a policy vacuum. It will weaken our powers and create that greater risk that we lose control over our own future. Because the report in front of us today is actually about the danger of failing to progress this process. And the advice from our expert planners is clear that without an up-to-date local plan, development doesn't stop. It comes forward in a more piecemeal, unplanned, and often more harmful way. Decisions will be shaped by national policy, the national policy they oppose, and they'll be shaped by appeal rather than by this council and the communities that we all represent. And I have to say this to you very plainly. It is our most fundamental duty as elected councillors to enable local people to have their say. You vote against local people having their say last night. Against their say tonight. Let me put it on the table. You are failing in your most basic duty as an elected councillor. And I respect the fact that many members opposite have internalised that, have realised that, and will put their are able to distinguish between their disagreements on the detail with the fundamental duty to consult. We need to support the transparency and engagement that that consultation puts on the table. You know, it would be a serious failure of that elected responsibility. It will be a serious failure of what we're elected to do, and it will be a failure to confront the difficult choices that we all face in this process. So let's not stand still and let this opportunity slip away. Let's wholeheartedly engage with this process, test the evidence, listen to our residents, and ensure that the final plan is robust, lawful, and capable of standing up to examination. Let's defend against the danger of failing to act, because there is a near certain risk of intervention, government direction, and loss of control. I've never been heckled by ChatGPT before. If you vote against this, you're not defending Hertsmere, you're not defending Compass Park, you're not defending Herts Farm, you're increasing the chances that others will make those decisions for us. And I don't mean at some undetermined vague point in the future. I mean that from the May Planning Committee, when one application comes forward. I mean from the very next planning appeal when other applications become forward. It's a serious moment, my friends. It deserves a serious response, and let's give that serious response in the public interest by supporting Councillor Oakley's proposals this evening. Thank you very much.
I shall now call upon Councillor Oakley to sum up.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't think I'm going to take lessons in how to produce a local plan from the people opposite. 20, what was it, 20,000, almost 20,000 objections to your plan. I'm also not going to take lessons from the party who flatly refused to be part of the members' planning panel for more than a year. You refused to engage. You refused actually to represent your residents in making a contribution to the local plan. I'm also going to take issue with Councillor Sussman, and what was that about? A nought, your little bit of your prop. Well, you've got that wrong as well. So while you're criticising our numbers, you need to get it right yourself. Now, there were comments on evidence. We commissioned 25 reports, evidence to support this plan. They started being uploaded for everyone to see this morning. As Councillor Newmark has said, the infrastructure delivery plan will be uploaded in the morning. I think about 7 went up this morning and they are gradually being done. Now, but much more important than that is to stress this whole thing. You are all talking, and this is round here, all talking as though this was the draft local plan, that all of these sites are going in there. And it's my plan, it's my government plan. I'm no pet poodle. Those numbers need to be reached, but I don't believe that they should be reached by sacrificing all of our green belt. And like Councillor Myers, I have sites on behalf of my residents, and some of my residents are here today. They know exactly how I stand on the sites in their locality. I took them out of the last draft plan, and I expect them to be lobbying me to take them out again. So it's a challenge, but we wanted to lay everything bare for the residents. Right? We want the residents to engage. We want them to tell us what, as I said earlier, are the sacred cows. But we have to be absolutely clear that we have to deliver on the numbers. And that is why we've gone for a regeneration approach. Because residents have made it clear, the 3 years that I've been standing here, people time and time again have told us it's the green belt they want to save. So we took that in developing our spatial strategy, because that's what they told us they wanted us to do. Brownfield first. And that is what we have done. Now, there are sites in this long list of sites that I find quite abhorrent. I'm not going to list them, but I do expect ward members to work with their residents and to tell us what they really feel should not be in that local plan. So the next stage of that is the Reg 19, but we want to be informed. We want you to participate. Now, there's been a lot of clapping here in the public gallery for things that are actually factually incorrect that have been coming from the other side of the chamber. You need to look at all the consultation documents. You need to make your own minds up, and you need to be lobbying your ward members, whichever member it is across the chamber. And from what I can see from residents here, it's going to be me as well. But we do need to be realistic about this. I just want to give you a couple of examples of what happens if you do not submit a local plan that fulfills those housing targets. At Castle Point, the plan making powers were taken away entirely. In Three Rivers, our neighbours and my former authority, the plan was rejected because about 50% of the housing sites weren't offered. And they have had 5,000 units on Greenbelt land imposed on them as the penalty. In Thanet, commissioners were brought in, and St Albans, the plan collapsed and had to be restarted. So we have to deliver those targets, but it's how we do it. And we need your help.
Please, your time is up. You will, you sit down. I think Councillor Newmark, you wanted to make a point of order or something like that. Okay, we're going to start with the first thing we're going to go about with the approve the publication of a draft local plan consultation document of Appendix 1 under Regulation 18 of the town and country planning, local planning England regulation of 2012 as for public and stakeholders engagement. Excuse me, it is carried. Yeah. Okay, now the vote has been carried. Now we're going over to the second one, number 2. Notes the additional technical work undertaken, and that will be published on the council's website. We'll go for a vote. Excuse me, this has been carried. Okay, we're going over to, we need to note the contribution and future contributions of the member planning panel at a forthcoming meeting in the preparation of the consultation document. We're going for a vote. Carried. Okay. Okay. And finally, we're going to the delegates.
No, Mr. Mayor, the point of order is being raised.
Oh, yeah, Councillor Newmark. I think you want to make a point of order.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just before we take a vote on item or part 4, because people have, I think, rightly and understandably raised issues around what I can perhaps politely describe as quality control and the purpose of item 4, which actually was a proposal that came forward from officers collectively to facilitate and enable quality control. I do feel that in the interests of democracy and transparency, Mr. Mayor, I would ask you to kindly consider using your discretion to permit the Chief Executive to speak briefly on behalf of the officers to explain the rationale behind why they are keen to see item 4 agreed.
Okay, I shall use my discretion. I shall let Mrs. Bilgi, yeah, this Bilgi, I think, to go about.
Mr. Mayor, thank you very much. First of all, do you want me to stand up or can I remain seated?
No, just relax, Anthony, because you have a problem standing. She has some mobility problem, you know. So
Oh, thank you very much.
yeah.
Um, First of all, thank you very much, Councillor Newmark, as well as thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, letting me to speak. Before even I begin, I would like to offer my most sincere and formal apology to the elected member of this chamber for errors in the documentation. I'm not going to give any excuses, simply unqualified and unreserved apology on behalf of the officers' team. If you have, most of you have seen the consultation document coming from this council always have a recommendation in it, which requests the delegated authority to make any minor changes to the document because due to the volume of data, there is always possibility of any typographical or factual inaccuracies, and hence since you have agreed recommendation 1 to go out for consultation, in order to make the consultation meaningful and as accurate as possible, if you decline the recommendation 4, that's really administratively and procedurally is not going to work out. So I urge all of you on behalf of the officers, in order to do the proper job, if we could approve the recommendation 4, because some of you already mentioned the role of member planning panel of the scrutiny. There is a member planning panel is scheduled for 21st of April, while the public consultation is scheduled for 26th of April. So my humble request to all of you is, in order to do the proper job, and not simply for officers, but yourself, because we are one team, please support recommendation 4. Otherwise, your approval for recommendation 1 is not going to be effective. In order to carry out effective consultation, we need to take care of any inaccuracies and factual discrepancies, so we can prepare as quickly as possible the document ready for the consultation. And as the Council Chief Executive, this is my most sincere and humble request to all of you. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
You're most welcome, Mrs. Filchi. Who's there? Okay, now. Yes, Councillor Hutchin Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Point of order,
Yeah.
because if I was aware of what was being planned by the Chief Executive, after all, these 2 amendments to the recommendations were sprung on us earlier this evening, not at the time the papers were published. I would like to move an amendment to the wording of paragraph 4 of the recommendations to remove the consultation with the Cabinet Member of Planning, Infrastructure and Transport and simply delegate it to the Head of Planning, Economic Development and Climate Change to make factual and textual errors and not to consult the Cabinet Member for Planning.
Okay, yes.
Sorry, just to clarify, this is a requisition, which means the only amendments which can be proposed are where Cabinet has made the recommendation. As such, we can't make further amendments to it. The item that you reference is actually a safeguard which is put in by officers to ensure democratic oversight. So if you want to remove democratic oversight in another meeting, we can do it, but unfortunately we can't here.
Okay, now we're going over to number 4, delegates to the Head of Planning, Economic Development and Climate Change to make any factual, minor and textual amendments as required in consultation with the Cabinet Member for Planning, Infrastructure and Transport. Yes. Now have your attention, please. Okay, it has been carried. excuse me. Yes. So right now everything has been carried. What I would suggest to you folks that we'll have a 3 minutes recess for me to reach over and pick up something. You have 5 minutes recess, and then within 5 minutes you all can be Okay, we're moving over to agenda item number 6. That's the decision report on Borough Town Center regeneration and Civic Center car park. I shall call on Councillor Newmark to move the recommendations as set out in the report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very novel having a tea break in the middle of the meeting. Welcome back, everybody. Look, after the high drama of the local plan reports, I'm really thrilled to have the opportunity to be able to update you on, I think, one of the most exciting projects that we are currently engaged with, and that is the next stage of the Borough Town Centre regeneration project. As you know, when I last came to council with an update on this work, we had completed the initial economic case. We're now coming back to you having presented the full outline business case in a Treasury funding compliant format, a selected strategic option, and a funding request that will enable us to move forward with soft market testing on a segment of the overall plans. And the reason I say a segment of the overall plans is when I last presented to you on this project, many members opposite rightly made the point, why are we investing all of this time, energy and effort when we have LGR on the horizon? And we took that away. And the view we took was, like any big projects at this stage in the life of a council about to be reorganised, we do have to be realistic. And this report clearly sets out 3 categories within the overall plans. The first of which is the stuff in which we intend to get spades in the ground, if not partly complete the build on within the lifespan of this authority. And that primarily relates to our plans for the Civic Centre car park, which will be a mix of much needed housing on a brownfield, non-greenbelt site. It will include what we are now loosely terming the Studios, Culture and Leisure Quarter, which will be based around a campus type development with an IMAX style cinema, the eventual purpose built permanent location for the Boreham Wood and Elstree immersive experience, and a set of other retail, leisure and hospitality type destinations. Think in terms of the extension that was built to the Harlequin Centre in Watford. The second category is the wider set of plans that we feel we can get past the point of no return and at least significantly funded by the point of LGR. And the third category listed in this report is effectively the parts of the project that will exist as options to be taken forward if they wish by the new unitary authority. So it's incredibly exciting. This is our opportunity to go to the market. The funding's already there in the Catalyst Reserve Fund I established 2 years ago precisely for this purpose, so that when we were ready to grab opportunities, we'd be able to grab them.
Your time is up.
Thank you.
I shall call upon Councillor Shenton to
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm happy to second this report. This has been to the asset management panel, it's been discussed there, it's been to cabinet and it's been discussed there. I'm naturally cautious about spending other people's money, as you'll be glad to know. And I did take some convincing that this was going to be value for money, but it is, as the leader has pointed out, a use of the funds that we allocated some time ago for the Catalyst Reserve, so that we can put money in to trigger further investment from outside sources. I think we, even though for those of us who don't live in Boreham Wood, we know the site, we know the area, and it is probably in need of some regeneration. It will create more footfall and more use for people coming from outside of the borough. I mean, we haven't got an IMAX anywhere else, and as far as I know. So this is a proposal which will stand the test of time. It will outlast this council when we're taken over by a unitary, because it will propose something which is useful, and that's a key requirement of that the asset management panel discusses. We discussed at cabinet. This isn't a vanity project. It's got to stand the test of time, and I believe it does. So I would endorse this project. Thank you.
Okay. This matter is now open for debate. I shall call on Councillor Cohen.
Thank you. We need to be clear about what is in front of us tonight. This is not a single focused decision. It is a bundle of very different recommendations, all rolled into 6 in total, and that should concern every one of us. In one vote, we're being asked to signal support for a large-scale regeneration under option 4, then to countenance the potential use of CPO powers, and also to approve £200,000 of residents' money for feasibility work on a much smaller civic centre scheme. These are fundamentally different issues. They carry different risks, different consequences, and very different implications for our residents and for this council. It is simply not right that they are being conflated into one recommendation. Members should be able to judge each on its own merits, not forced into an all or nothing decision. And even putting that aside, this is the wrong time. In a matter of months, Hertsmere is likely to be part of a new unitary authority. That authority, not this one, will be responsible for assessing viability, commissioning feasibility, and considering powers such as CPO. The new unitary will carry the risk and make the decisions. So why are we preempting them? Why are we asking our residents to fund the first steps of a process that will sit with a different authority altogether? This is not good governance, it is not proportionate, and it is not the right use of public money at this moment. For those reasons, we cannot support these recommendations.
I shall move over to Councillor Clapper, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, we all recognise the need for change. Town centres are evolving and doing nothing is not an option. The ambition here, a new leisure hub, housing, public space and a stronger town centre is welcome. But from our perspective, we need to proceed with caution. This report is not approving the full scheme. It is approving early stage work, around £200,000 on consultants, which is a huge spend, market testing and exploring land assembly, including possible CPOs. At the heart of the proposal is option 4, a major reworking of the town centre layout, including a new green spine park, expansion of Shenley Road, new housing and commercial space, and a flagship leisure hub on the Civic Centre car park site with a cinema, hotel and food and drink uses. This vision is strong, but the delivery in this case is uncertain. The report itself acknowledges a viability gap. The scheme relies heavily on external funding, future market conditions, and private sector partners. That creates risks. If these factors do not align, the project could stall, be delayed significantly, or be scaled back from what is being presented today. We are also relying heavily on private developers. That raises real questions about control and ensuring public benefit, especially where public land assets are involved. Once that balance shifts, it becomes harder to guarantee outcomes for residents. There are also practical issues. Land assembly is complex and could lead to delay or legal challenges. Parking pressures may increase with redevelopment of the civic centre site, even with replacement provision. Timescales are long, potentially 10 to 20 years, and that brings uncertainty around delivery and changing priorities. And many of the benefits, becoming a destination town or boosting the evening economy, are aspirational, not guaranteed, and we do need to be honest about that. Any growth we have must be grounded in delivery, not just vision. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, I shall call upon Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As someone who has lived in Bournemouth for many decades, I can say with real confidence that what we are looking at here is a once-in-a-generation opportunity. Opportunities like this do not come around often. This is about the long-term future of our town centre. It's about revitalising Boreham Wood so it remains a place people are proud to live in, work in and visit. There is a huge amount to be excited about in these proposals, a reimagined town centre that brings together leisure, culture and community in a way we simply do not have today. The idea of a cultural hub with a new cinema provision, including an IMAX experience, alongside flexible cultural and community space, has the potential to transform how people use and experience the town centre. This is about creating a destination, a place where people stay longer, spend locally and feel part of something. that has real benefits, not just for residents, but for local businesses and our wider community. But alongside that excitement, we do need to address some of the commentary that has been circulating. There has been a fair amount of social media speculation that frankly misunderstands what is actually being proposed. For example, claims that a tower block being built on the roundabout outside the civic offices. That is not what is being planned, and it is not part of the proposal before us. What the document does do is set out the potential for a wider area in the future, should road layouts change and opportunities arise. That is about long-term vision and flexibility, not immediate delivery. It is clearly explained in the report, but as ever, some seem more interested in scaremongering than engaging with the detail. We should be honest with residents. This is a framework for regeneration. It sets direction. It opens up opportunity, and it will continue to evolve with proper consultation and scrutiny at every stage. So let's focus on what it really is: a chance to rejuvenate Boreham Wood Town Centre, a chance to reinvest in culture, leisure and community, a chance to shape a town centre that is fit for the future. That is something worth supporting.
Your time is here. Yeah. Okay. I'll ask whether we can agree to extend it to 10:30 or so. Yeah, agreed? Okay, okay, we carry on. Okay, good. Okay, I shall call upon Councillor Brisky, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've eagerly awaited this report for a long time. Our high street on Shenley Road is in desperate need of regeneration, as it's characterised by nail bars, fried chicken shops, betting shops, charity shops, vape shops. But I was disappointed that the only regeneration proposed in Shenley Road is the redevelopment of a single building, the Point, where the cinema is. While the vast majority of the regeneration proposed centres on Elstree Way, outside the town centre. And let's be clear, we're not simply asking to engage consultants to undertake market testing. We're being asked to endorse option 4 of the strategy. And while there are aspects of option 4 that I support, such as a new public square and increased green spaces, make no mistake that what they are really asking us to endorse here is the removal of the roundabout outside this building to make way for 15 to 18-storey tower blocks. Mr. Mayor, our current local plan focused development along Elstree Way. I live in one of the flats that were built. We know that the 6-storey blocks that were built put immense pressure on Boreham Wood's infrastructure, but now they want to build more than 2,000 in blocks triple the height of the existing buildings. Amongst the wacky proposals before us is an idea to pedestrianise the western end of Elstree Way outside this building and reroute traffic to Shenley Road North through what's currently the Civic Offices and Venue car park. Mr. Mayor, let me be clear that a Conservative administration will never allow the pedestrianisation of any of our streets, let alone our A roads. So I ask myself, do residents want us to spend hundreds of thousands of pounds of their money on seeking professional advice for a master plan that this council will never be able to deliver before the abolition of this authority? Of course they don't. And therefore, I will not be able to support the recommendations.
Okay. Can I have you? I shall call upon Councillor Newmark to sum up, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So there you have it from the Boreham Wood branch of the Blockers Coalition. Race to the bottom, Councillor Cohen. We've got LGR coming up in a couple of years, and we can either stop, do nothing, wait for the next slot, or we can carry on working to bring nice things to the people of Boreham Wood. You can stand like Councillor Brisky does and do down our town and argue against development in the vicinity of your own home, or you can actually stop denying Boreham Wood the opportunity to have something nice. You can stop denying young people in our area the opportunity to have something to do. Yeah, they tell us that they don't want to build on Greenbelt, but here they seek to block building homes on a brownfield site. Very revealing indeed. Councillor Clapper, as ever, you make serious and important points. Yeah, of course there's a viability gap. Any regeneration project starts with a viability gap, otherwise it wouldn't be a regeneration project. I'm sure Councillor Morris could explain the economics in detail to us, but the advantage of the staged approach that I'm promoting this evening is that as we work through those stages, we will be able to capture a significant land value premium during the course of each stage. So that viability graph across the whole project will reduce as we move forward. Councillor Cohen flags the question of land assembly, and of course it's actually absolutely right, but then he goes on to denigrate the idea of giving officers approval to move forward with the compulsory purchase orders that will enable us to act assertively to actually assemble those land packages around the public estate. So buildings like the old police station and others that have shamefully laid empty because of the Police and Crime Commission and the County Council can be brought into proper use. So no apologies for being aspirational. There's a very clear focus on a very clear area that we can deliver, and there's some legwork and groundwork being laid for the future.
Yeah. Okay, members, I think we need to go for a vote. Are we ready to vote? Yeah. Okay. This has been carried. We're moving over to agenda item 7 as Hertsmere Development Limited Director's Arms and Paxton Court costs. I shall call on Councillor Newmark to move the recommendations as set out in the report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think this is another report that sits at the heart of a set of priorities to genuinely put Hertsmere first, but not Boreham Wood second. As members will be aware, a set of proposals came forward and our wholly owned subsidiary, Hertsmere Developments Limited, was asked to take forward potential redevelopment of the Director's Arms and Paxton Court sites on the south side of Boreham Wood. They worked on those proposals and successfully took something forward to planning application stage. During the course of the exercise, it became abundantly clear that a much better deal in terms of value for money for the public was available in the private sector, a deal that would actually see us able to deliver more homes on one of the two sites, and HDL would have been able to deliver across both of the sites, thereby freeing up the Paxton Court site for us to make available, develop and kit out for the potential new community diagnostic centre together with satellite NHS GP facilities, the most we can do to try and address the deficit of GP provision in that part of Boreham Wood. Accordingly, in alignment with our public sector best value duty, the council decided to proceed with the disposal of Director's Arms to enable that project. This rightly and properly led to a request from the directors of HDL Limited for the council to reimburse them the costs of consultancy and advice in getting the project forward to where they got it to in terms of planning application stage. There was value in that work, and indeed if that work had not taken place, it's likely that we would not have been in a position to have the second better value option on the table. Therefore, I consider it right and proper and the ethical thing to do to reimburse the company, albeit our own subsidiary, for the costs that were incurred in that valuable exercise. They were incurred in good faith and a job of work was done, and I'm pleased to say that this is a win-win scenario because the amount of the uplift in value that we will get from the new proposal moving forward significantly exceeds by a factor of multiple times the amount that we will be reimbursing HDL for. So this is a financial exercise. It's a win-win, and I'd like to thank all of those on the board of HDL for their involvement and the part they played in getting us to this point.
I shall call upon Councillor Chalice, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I second this and reserve my right to speak.
Thanks so much. Okay, this matter is now open for debate. I shall call upon Councillor Hodgson Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I'll start by thanking Councillor Newmark for his gracious approach and thanks to the work that HDL board has done over the past few years. I would have made some adverse comments about how we got to this situation, but given that the council administration has accepted the need to reimburse HDL and that this is an exercise that is tidying up work that HDL undertook over several years on behalf of the council, and that it is purely, and it's not a cost to the council because transferring the money to HDL allows us to wind up HDL's affairs in a responsible and orderly manner, and therefore allows HDL to repay the working capital facility that is in place in favour of HDL. So it is actually a little bit of a merry-go-round, but it is absolutely essential for accounting purposes and removes the risk of reputational damage to the council and to the board of HDL. So I encourage you to support. I have dispensation to speak. I cannot vote on this item because of a pecuniary interest, but that is understandable. And I ask you to do the right thing for economic reasons, but also for moral and ethical reasons. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, Councillor Alexander, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to begin by expressing the disappointment and frustration felt by residents in Borehamwood South. They were told repeatedly that the Director's Arms site would finally deliver the GP surgery our community has been desperately waiting for. Instead, the site has been sold, the surgery has disappeared from the plans, and residents are left with longer waiting lists and fewer options. That frustration is real and it is justified. But turning to the specific item before us, I want to keep my rationale very simple. As councillors, we have a duty to safeguard public money and to ensure that every pound that we spend is justified, evidenced and is transparent. That duty applies especially when we are being asked to approve a payment of over £500,000. HDL is a subsidiary company. It was set up as a separate legal entity for a reason: to operate commercially, to take commercial decisions and to bear commercial risk. The report before us states that if we do not pay this 500,000, there may be a dispute with HDL. But that is precisely the point on which we need clarity. Before we approve a payment of this scale, we need a clear legal opinion setting out not just the ethical and moral considerations, because I don't think that's really our position to opine on specifically, but what we need is a legal opinion whether HDL actually has a valid legal claim against the council for these costs, or whether what we are really being asked to do is inject capital funding into a council-owned company. Either outcome may be legitimate, but they are not the same thing. And if this is, in substance, a capital injection, then we need to be transparent about that, and we need a proper business case. For too long, the legal separation between the council and its subsidiaries has been treated informally. Decisions blur together, risks blur together, and accountability becomes unclear. That is exactly why we must pause here and insist on proper governance. At this stage, council has not been provided with a legal assessment, a business case, or evidence needed to demonstrate that the payment is required and justified. And until that information is provided, I cannot support this recommendation. It's not about the merits of the planning work. It's not about the professionalism of officers. It's simply about...
Thank you so much. Yeah. Councillor Matthew, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's entirely right that HDL are reimbursed for their planning and design work, which has helped us to achieve an enhanced disposal value. Crucially, from a housing perspective, there's no loss in housing, as the site is still expected to produce 37 homes, of which 9 will be affordable and 4 social rent. The bonus is it releases Paxton the road site for alternative uses, and the hope is the initiative will provide a badly needed NHS facility. Thank you.
Okay, I shall move over to Councillor Sashdev, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll be voting to support this recommendation, and as a former director of HDL, I want to clear up any misconceptions about this 526k invoice. It's not a bailout or a handout, it's just an invoice for value created. In property development, raw land is obviously cheap, but de-risk land with capacity assessments, feasibility layouts, planning documentation is of course highly valuable. HDL spent the time, resources and expertise to prove exactly what could be built on the Director's Arms and Paxton Court sites. As the officer's report confirms, that specific work allowed this council to go to the open market and secure a much larger capital receipt from Abbey Homes. The council took the fruits of HDL's labour and used it to maximise the taxpayer's return. To turn around now and refuse to pay the very invoices that generated our profit would be a serious breach of commercial faith. It could invite a completely avoidable legal dispute and harm our reputation with future commercial partners. Regarding Councillor Alexander's point about the sort of, there should be more information about potential legal dispute. Look, there isn't really anything in the report about that, so perhaps that could have been fleshed out more. But even just that aside, whether we want to do an internal sort of litigation there, it's not going to be, this doesn't look great to other potential commercial partners that we may want to partner with in the future. So I urge members to recognise the value that HDL delivered here and support the reimbursement. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I shall call upon Councillor Chalice to sum up, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, first of all, I just want to give full thank you to HDL, who did a huge amount of work on this. You have the time that has gone into this and also the financial element, and it was successfully brought forward. But as times have changed and with the new set of proposals potentially coming forward, this is something, a set of which we really need to see delivered for Boreham Wood. In this context, it's really important that we close this off and that the costs are reimbursed, especially as the council has.
Can you turn on your mic, please?
I'm very sorry, I will move over. Sorry, I'm moving towards the right. Sorry, it's a late evening. We can have a joke, can't we? No, we shouldn't have a joke. It's really important that we get through this. Anyway, as Councillor Newmark said, we have seen the benefit of the uplift of this. And once again, thank you all to HDL, particularly to Councillor Paul Hodgson-Jones. I know you have put so much into this over the years, and I think it's been about 10 years now. I lose track, but thank you again, everyone.
Yeah, Councillor Newmark, you will sum up, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to address some of the points that have been made primarily by Councillor Alexander. Look, obviously, we all wanted to see GP surgery on the Director's Arms site itself, but when the ICB formalised and made public their position that they would not commission GP services on that site, we would be failing in our statutory best value duty if we simply left the site empty, providing no value to the public. And I'm delighted that we've come to a solution that will see some medical provision back in the south of Boreham Wood. In terms of, I don't know if it's Hertsmere first or lawyers first, because he seems to say that we shouldn't be wasting money, but at the same time he wants us to spend money on expensive lawyers to take what's essentially a business decision to transfer money from our main account to the bank account of one of our subsidiaries. As Councillor Chalice has outlined, this has been through an extensive governance process. It's been discussed, I think, at 3 successive meetings of the Shareholder Investment Committee, which is the appropriate place within the governance structures of the council to make recommendations and scrutinise decisions of this nature. It's not a legal matter. At the end of the day, it's a business matter. We received a certain amount of value as a council. We're paying for that value. We're creating a scenario in which Hertsmere First can regularise its affairs before winding down the company. And more importantly, we have created a scenario in which the south of Boreham Wood will benefit from some top quality homes, the regeneration of a site that's been derelict for far too long, and an exciting new possibility of community diagnostic centre with satellite GP provision. Look, we're not the NHS, we're not the ICB, but I think we can now confidently say across parties that we have done as much as we can to bring that medical provision to that part of Boreham Wood.
Yeah, members, I think we have to go for a vote now on this particular issue. Yeah. It has been carried, please. We're moving over to agenda item 8. That is update from outside bodies. Aldenham Reservoir and all party working group update as of April 2026. Members, we shall deal with the items the same as committee reports. We will have 15 minutes for the update and questions, which, if there are any, can I call Councillor Newmark and Councillor Clapper to provide the update.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Clapper and myself are, I think, the remnant of the all-party task force that was set up quite some time ago under the previous administration to deal with the threats to the future of Aldenham Reservoir. And I think, as we have consistently said over a period of time, that the priority was to be as pragmatic as possible to create a situation in which the dam would be prepared and repaired, and the threat of the reservoir being drained would not only be put to one side for a short period of time, but put to one side on a permanent basis. As part of the work done by this group, we've been involved in a process that saw planning permission being granted across the road for enabling development. People have different views on whether or not that was the right way forward, and that's not a debate for tonight. But the important thing is that that enabling development has created a scenario in which the reservoir has been saved. The reason we're coming to you this evening to rightly and properly update council is to be able to inform you that the proprietors of the reservoir site have now concluded the sort of property deal element on the enabling works on schedule, on time, to enable the works on the dam to commence in that relatively tight weather constrained window over the course of spring and summer. This of course has the knock-on effect of enabling the community interest company that we've worked towards establishing to be set up to be responsible for the management of the site moving forward. A shadow board has already been created involving councillors, representatives of Liberty Aldenham, and representatives of a number of the community groups. That CIC will ultimately appoint managers of the site as a whole and will instigate negotiations with users and tenants. Very initial liaison has taken place with the sailing club, which Councillor Lambert has been heavily involved in, and we are extremely hopeful that they will be able to return to the site. There's been outreach to the angling club, and there are some other new and exciting uses that may require slight varying of the covenant, but will enable particularly young people in local schools to benefit from the water sports opportunities around the site. I'm pleased to report that the proprietors have met their obligations under the Section 106 agreement and remitted the sum of £500,000, which is being held in escrow by the council. That will sort of form the bulk of the, I suppose it's quite literally a sinking fund to ensure that that most of the routine maintenance and dam repair work will be covered for the foreseeable future. And I'm going to sort of leave it to Councillor Clapper to provide any details that I may have overlooked, and to thank her for her ongoing work and commitment to this issue going back a number of years. I think it's fair to say that this is a great example of the authority working across political divides. I know that I think there's not a Lib Dem on the group currently, but Councillor Jerry Evans, there's a name I've not heard for some time, was integrally involved in this process as well. And I guess Councillor Clapper's represented two different parties during her time in this process, so we can say she really does epitomise cross-party working. But I think when she engages with a project, it's going to be a successful one. So that's my part of the update, and over to Councillor Clapper.
Yeah. Councillor Clapper, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I'm really delighted to stand up and speak this evening and just briefly reflect on the journey that we've been on to save Aldenham Reservoir, which sits in both my county and borough ward and is such an important part of the local area. It's hard to believe now, but many years ago when we first began working cross-party, all-party on this issue, we only had 3 parties, you're right. I've been involved with 2 and we've lost 1, but things were looking bleak. The owners have made it clear that they could not afford the essential repairs to the dam, and there was a real threat that the reservoir could be drained entirely, which would have meant the loss of a local amenity and also a loss to our community and our heritage. So we didn't give up, and over the years we've had countless meetings, a great deal of hard work, changes in personnel and the committee. It wasn't always easy, but through persistence and collaboration we've moved forward. This is a perfect example of cross-party working done well, when people come together, putting political differences aside and focusing on the issues that really matter for our residents. And today I'm delighted to say that we have reached this major milestone together with you, Jeremy, and working closely with the Gosrani family. We've helped bring this project to a point where real progress is now happening. With Strabag, I don't know exactly how you pronounce it, so I apologise if I've mispronounced it, but with Strabag UK now contracted to deliver essential improvement works, including a new dam embankment, spillway and improved public access, we are securing the long-term future of the reservoir. And this is about restoring this vital asset for future generations to come. And most excitingly, if this all goes to plan, by next summer we hope to see the return of all water sports on the lake, including sailing, fishing, maybe even paddle boarding, yoga on the lake. So I encourage as many people as possible in this chamber, come down to the reservoir next summer, come and enjoy it. It's a big public asset, and we're going to bring life back to the reservoir, which will in turn benefit Aldenham Country Park. This has been a great team effort, and I am extremely proud to have played a part in this process. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
You're most welcome. Thanks for your various contribution. Yeah, I will take questions. Are there any questions? Yeah, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I sailed on Aldenham Reservoir for 25 years, and it was 6 years ago that the water was reduced and we had to abandon sailing. But the sailing club has continued, although a lot of members go and sail elsewhere. We still have the Carder.
What's your question, please?
Sorry?
What's your question?
Oh, it was really a vote of thanks for the members who've worked so hard in the working group. Yeah. It is. I mean, we are really pleased. The interesting bit is 2 weeks ago, when we found out about this, we had an EGM, which was about to consider how to distribute the sailing club funds. At the meeting, at the EGM, it was decided by the members to retain the funds, so to get the sailing club back on the water as soon as possible. So the sailing club is still there and wants to get back. Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Jeremy. Thank you to everybody else who has been on that working group, including Dan Osro, who was behind us here. He did a lot of work. Thank you very much indeed. No question.
Okay, that's it. Okay, Councillor Gray, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I don't think anybody will ever forget the first planning meeting of this new administration, where Councillor Morris and I spent an inordinate amount of time talking about the size of let's rephrase it, the size of the crack, not, and I think we'll both sleep soundly tonight, knowing that that crack will be well and truly filled. Great work from you two. Thank you so much for all the hard work that's been done. I'm very pleased to hear Councillor Lambert's update about the sailing club and the fact that they will have the funds to return to the water as soon as that is possible. And thank you both again for putting the sparkle back into the reservoir. Much appreciated.
Okay, that's good. That makes my job much easier. Yeah. Yeah. Is any other contribution? Okay, since there is any other contribution, I would like to thank all of you members for your time. And let me see. Do we have any other business? No other business. Okay. Okay. The next meeting is our annual council on the 20th of May. And I now declare this meeting over. Okay. Okay. And the time, yeah, please, you don't just walk out like that, please. The time now is, the meeting is closed by 10:28. Okay. Okay, you always, yeah.